Hello?
Hello,
Hello.
Leon. You sound different than normal. Read worse.
Yeah,
But,
my internet's still off, so I'm on my phone.
okay.
But I figured I'd at least be in voice in case something actually happened.
Right.
We're
Um,
doing the
the,
negotiation stuff probably,
Okay.
so
there, so the negotiation stuff is all I have prepped, and it should last long enough. Hopefully it will last long enough to justify that. Um,
Did you prepare the friends of the assassin?
no, I didn't think to, but they don't really need preparing. They're just monsters who would spawn in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. We still need to interrogate her to actually say the name.
so what did we know about that? Like, did we just know they were coming at some point, or what?
I honestly don't remember who you're talking about. She had
Yeah.
the bracelet of friends.
Rest of the friends.
Um,
Right.
you don't know that they would have otherwise come if she hadn't summoned them. All you know is that there's a bracelet of friends, and she
And
has the ability to summon some friends. You don't know what would have happened.
yeah, and so we can do that. We can try and like trick them, or we can reassign the charms and use it for our own needs.
You can do both of those things. I'm not sure that you can't do both, or that if you have to pick one.
You have to pick one. Once you use a charm, it's like it goes away forever.
Okay.
But you can switch as many times as you want, but you can only use it once.
Then yeah, those are your choices. You can summon them. They'll be well below your pay grade if you fight them one at a time. Um,
Could we reassign each other to the like could
you,
we
There's no
reassign
point in
people
that,
to the
though.
charm?
there's
Like
not.
how? You don't know. Maybe the party will split up at some point.
It might be. It might be more useful to assign maybe the T-Rex, the dragon, uh, other powerful friends. Maybe like if I were you, I would assign them to the dragon, uh, the Queen of Delights because she's like an 18th level witch.
Holy shit!
That's cool.
Which is no longer quite as powerful compared to you as it was when you first met her. But yeah, had you started a combat with her, she basically would have shut you down instantly. You are not intended to be able to defeat her in a fight. She doesn't kill. In fact, here's what she would have done. The module actually said this. She would have dominated you guys with Dominate Monster and Dominate Person, and then sent you back to Cantargo to go on about your business with the understanding that she can now control you whenever she wants, and she wouldn't have bothered, so the next couple of modules would have proceeded as normal.
Mm.
With you guys under her control, and her not bothering to make you behave differently.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, it's, so like, all of A Song of Silver, it's like, okay, you're under her mind control, she's just letting you free the city because she doesn't care. And then presumably around the time she contacted you here would be the next time it came up. Or no, it would be in part 5 when you had to sign a thing with her, which she would have done because you're her mind slaves. And she wants, she's happy to have her mind slaves be politically allied with her city. And then so you could have gone through the rest of the campaign completely as normal while mentally enslaved to this high-level witch.
Does that spell last that long even?
It lasts, I want to say it lasts, it's days per level. I'll have to read it. I feel you have to recast it every day. I don't know if that extends the duration. I think it doesn't actually. But she would have worked to keep it up. She does have 9th level spells, so I'm going to check monster. Dominate monster, that is. Functions like dominate person, except it is not restricted by creature. Okay, so, yeah, duration in any case is 1 day per level. If you don't spend at least 1 round concentrating on the spell each day, the subject receives a new saving throw to throw off the domination, which, as a part of that, you would... that means that she would have to re-prepare it each day just to re-concentrate on it for you.
So after that works, I don't think you need to. I think you just need to concentrate on an ongoing spell. You don't need to re-prepare it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
So-
I interpret that as meaning as trying to be a way of keeping you from having more mind slaves than you are capable of casting Dominate Person per day, so that you can't accrue an army of them.
I never thought of that, but pretty sure that's... I mean, that sounds like evil bad guy intent right there, and so it should be probably used as a plot device because that's how that works.
Yeah, potentially, but I mean, I think it's intended as a check to keep the spell from being from being so powerful that you can use it in unintended ways.
Maybe. It seems more of a you can't concentrate on more than you possibly have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would give... I mean, let's do the math. How many rounds are there per day? I'm curious now. So there are
10 for a minute.
So there are 24 hours per day. An hour is made up of 60 minutes. A minute is made up of 10 rounds. So you could have 14,400 rounds in a day. So, you could have about that many mind slaves, theoretically.
But you then become the
Yeah.
mind slave.
Yeah, you then-
You do nothing.
You then become unable to do anything but concentrate on all of them, and I believe that includes... No, I mean, you can still give orders to them. You can still do move actions. So... You basically become nauseated. You can perform 1 move action per round, and in exchange you have an army of mind slaves. Now I want to do that character.
Yeah, this is definitely a campaign.
So you need to recursive that shit. You have 5 mind slaves that are all casters who you will use to mind slave everyone else.
Oh my god! Of course Kevin is gonna break the fucking system.
And they have each, and then you could nest as many as you want to just have the entire universe be under your control.
That's a mind player shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Multi-level
to...
marketing with Dominate Person? Yes.
And part of your dominates is you will train to be a caster so you can be a good dominator, so you can dominate more people for me.
Yeah.
Shit.
I mean, now, one caveat, you have to be a little selective on your mind slaves because they have to have an intelligence of 15, at least.
Okay, I mean,
Okay, so we go to a school and just dominate all of them.
Yeah. It's not a huge limitation. It is a little bit of one, but...
and
Or-
part of your limit,
The,
like you earn money for me. You craft headbands for me. Let's get headbands on these bitches so that they can you know.
Yeah. You can if they would need which would mean they would need a 9 in order for you to plus 6 them to 15, which
opens it up significantly.
Yeah, though also you want it to be as high as possible because you want the save to be as
Right.
high as possible. So you would in any even it would and crafting with the crafting requirement, it would still be less cumbersome to just find someone that smart.
And you wouldn't. I mean, the number of actual dominators you have to have is minimal. I mean, 10 dominators could rule a country if that's all they were doing.
10 dominators could get 144,000 people. though you could imagine a room with 100 of them would rule a massive number of people.
And then you bring any subject into the room and be like, okay, 20 of you guys, dominate them. One of you is going to succeed no matter what. So,
yeah. Though, yeah, and that's assuming you're using them to capacity, which, I just thought of something. They have to spend an hour preparing their spells and 8 hours sleeping to get them back.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're gonna redo our math. There are 24 hours, but 9 of them aren't usable. 15 times 60 times 10. It becomes 9,000.
Okay, it's a nice round number.
Yeah.
It's exactly 9,000.
But yeah, it would. Yeah. You would start with a city, then a country, then the world. It would. It could happen.
Yeah, that's a suitable evil plot. Something that would still be.
Maybe we're all just dominated right now, and he's just not giving us directions. Holy shit!
Something that would be suitably difficult for that heroes would be able to come in and try to stop it.
Definitely,
because that still would take time and effort. It's not a free world takeover. It's just a feasible one.
And the cool thing about that would be is you would once you got a chain down, you get everyone in the down chain would be freed.
Yeah, and so that's how that would be kind of a design fault in that plan that heroes could exploit.
Right, and so it gives you a feeling of accomplishment, like you saved this entire city because of this one action. So you get
though also there's a moral dilemma here because the casters are themselves not acting of their own free will. So can you ethically kill them? Seemingly not. At least not if you.
Yeah, then it's just a non-lethal campaign.
Yeah, it's a matter of you don't want to kill them, and so you'll make decisions accordingly, which adds a layer of... I like the you don't want to kill them element. It's a good way of making encounters more complicated than you walk into a room, they want to scratch you to death, they walk up to you and attack you, you attack back. Who wins? You do, because the numbers are stacked in your favor. That's a boring encounter, and when I design encounters, I try to avoid that. I try to make it so that... I think I even kind of codified it. There's like 5 ways to make an encounter not boring. And you should do at least like 2 or 3 of them. So like either the terrain is more complicated than an open empty room in which all of that takes place, or the player's goals are more complicated than walk in and kill monster, or the monster's goals are more complicated than kill PCs as they walk in, or there's some other thing happening, like had I can tell you about this now. Had the boy not been at the magic circle against undead, had he been at the hotel, that first encounter with the zombies at the hotel would have been complicated by the fact that the sister bought a potion of invisibility while she was in the other city. And I mentioned that she went and bought something in the text chat, and you conveniently enough, never pressed the issue as to what it had been. She bought a potion of invisibility, and she would have quaffed that, went into his room, opened his coffin, and freed him. If you had if you had allowed it to get that far, you would have been able to stop her, of course, if you had noticed what was happening and been able to. But yeah, she would have. It would have been complicated by that attempt. Of course, you intelligently kept them far away from each other. Though now, of course, if there happen to be orcs in that cathedral, if there happen to be orcs anywhere near that shrine, orcs have shit will saves, and he's already gone. I've honestly not figured out exactly what state you're going to find them in. I do know whether or not I want him to get away. But I'm gonna, if you fuck up colossally and he should get away, he's going to. If you fight really well and are really smart and keep him from getting away, he's not going to. It's in the middle cases where I can contrive things toward the outcome I want. So let that incentivize you to be really smart, because even if I'm trying to let him get away, and I'm not saying that I am, because I might have some plans for when you get to Lastwall that involve him being with you. But if I am trying to get him to get away, you can still stop me.
Okay. If we're trying to stop you, you're not letting him go away, so don't worry about it. Like, once I get serious, let's be honest. What you gonna do?
I mean, it's a matter of, like I say, that there are weak will-saved creatures around that he can take advantage of. All he has to do is dominate an orc and command them to pick him up and put him outside of the circle. That's not against their nature, because they're an orc. What the fuck do they care that this pink-skinned child is inside or outside of this apparent magic circle?
Plus, they don't have charisma, so he'll beat their charisma checks.
Well, no, that's charm.
He's an oracle.
That's charm.
Whoops.
But it's a matter of will saves, but they're orcs, so they don't have wisdom.
Yep.
So, if there is a straight line between him and an orc, he's getting away.
Has that line ever been introduced to him? Because
you will see.
We're not planning on letting him.
I mean, I know that there's going to be a combat at the shrine when you get there. You're going to find that it's under attack and that the priestess is going to be fighting off some things. So, It's a matter of whether or not, over the course of that combat, such a straight line develops. And I'm going to let that go down as it will. And then react accordingly, because I do have plans. My plans for Lastwall are not rendered completely non-functional by either outcome. And because the adventure is not going to completely surround him in such a way as to require that he be there. But it may still be helped by it. So I might be rooting for you guys a little bit. But yeah, I teased, and then we'll start. I teased in the politics chat that the adventure in Lastwall is going to be a mystery, but it's not going to be a murder mystery unless you fuck up early on. So don't fuck up early on, or an important NPC will be murdered.
Makes sense.
Oh no.
Actually,
should we start?
Yeah, and I say that
I wonder what important NPC, if that matters.
I say that I'm not going. It's actually not going to work out that way either way, because he's not going to do the thing. But
oh, so it's a cool.
It's a matter of. It's a matter of someone will die if you fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be the plot critical NPC. It could be anyone. It could be Kevin.
It's the Helmet. Okay.
Not me. Anyone but me.
I don't think it could be Kevin.
No, yeah.
Wait, is it Kevin or Landir? Kevin or Landir?
Landir.
Oh,
I mean, here's the thing. Landir dying doesn't stick. He's the fucking doctor at this point. He has 10 lives.
And the funny thing is, he doesn't want that. He wants to die because he regrets his existence.
Okay, so this is a question that I actually have to ask you, Fabi. There's the spell Battle Corruption, where I think it's corruption. If I do that, and then he's going on, does he get resurrected?
So, a bunch of robot noises just happened.
Cool.
Quote the spell.
Discuss it later. Okay, I'll link the spell.
Yeah, link the spell in the Belkson. Yeah, just to have it on.
Okay.
For today, early on, I would like to do a automatic writing, divination with 90% chance of success. Is anyone else coming to disrupt these negotiations? Does anyone else have plans to?
So, what's the casting time of this spell? Does it take a few minutes for the writing to happen?
10 minutes.
So, over the next 10, you sequester yourself in a room, and you close your eyes, and you find that your hand plants the pin on, and you begin to write. And you write in swirls, and you write in striking lines. And the result, after 10 minutes, is there's this astonishing, like, calligraphy you could sell. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful what the result is. And in this incredibly ornate, incredibly well-crafted font. Again, like, this is worth putting on a wall as a painting. There's the background. The background is, like, Desna themed and is this beautiful butterfly at night. And the butterflies all taken together with their stylistic antenna and swirls coming off and their wings resulting it. You see simply this answer.
No.
Fucking hell.
That's
great.
That's what I was hoping for. I mean, I just, we don't have to worry about it as much, at least, assuming that it was successful. But, I think I know if it's not successful, right?
I believe so. Yeah. She was supposed to strike during, night 2 of the negotiations. You caught her early.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought I would just, if there's another thing to be worried about, I wanted to be aware of ahead of time. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Puppy, with the rules for the negotiation, does one of us only rolls the diplomacy, or all of us can roll it?
The module is ambiguous. The way I think I'm going to do it is diplomacy, intimidate, and bluff. It'll be one of you each rolls.
Okay.
So that makes it a little harder, and that's necessary for you to have any chance of failing.
There is no chance of failing.
Yeah, there is no exactly. There is no chance of failing. Most of you have mods around where the DCs are, so
yeah.
The
odds
of you not winning at least 2 of the 3 possible concessions. Honestly, it will be more difficult, and I'm going to make you do this. She's not gonna. For the most part, she's not going to just volunteer the concessions. You have to think of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just have to beat the die roll. You have to think about what to ask for. And what would be reasonable.
I went into home, and the Hell Trouble in character are the things you went over last time.
Yeah, and I wrote responses that she has to each of those things.
Okay, let's get prepared.
Yeah. So I know... so you wanted to interrogate the assassin.
I doubt we're gonna get a rouse out of her because we already know who sent her, and we killed them. So what do you guys think?
It was non-lethal. We knocked her down with, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we stripped her of her gear. That happened last time.
Yeah.
Bound and gagged, of course.
Yeah. I suppose it doesn't hurt to... I would say before we do anything, we need to turn her over, like, as a group to the other side to kind of show, like, this is basically tell them what we found and work together towards a solution. I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're not, like, seen as just attacking some random person. We need to explain what we're doing.
I'm sorry. I was trying to log into Mythweavers, and it was giving me lip.
Mm-hmm. We want to...
Yeah, Mythweavers now uses your email instead of your username, so that's why you got disconnected.
That's fun.
So with... basically, I wanted to... Other side, negotiate side in the area...
Not yet. They're going... It's very early in the morning. They're going to arrive any minute now.
Okay.
You don't know exactly when they're going to arrive, though.
Until the other delegation arrives, and do that.
All right. Leon, what's this about needing to write down numbers?
I just threw my sheet at you guys, so it's whatever.
All right. Kevin, you're in
It's not 16 because I planned on doing that earlier, but my internet's been down, so.
Kevin, you're in charge of that.
Okay. Are you in charge of one of the roles? I'm not. Was it bluff, intimidate? I'm diplomacy.
I'm in charge of bluff because I have plus 38.
I mean, I'm probably not at this point because there's a T-Rex in play.
If the T-Rex exists, he is in charge of intimidate.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, you didn't comment. Is it bad form or otherwise a bad idea to have spells active that would enhance my diplomacy?
I would say, I mean, it would depend on the nature of the spell. Is it making you more charismatic and persuasive, or is it affecting them in any way, shape, or form?
All the ones I picked were affecting me and making me more persuasive.
If it's analogous to, like, Eagle's Splendor, then you're fine.
Okay.
Though, you will not be able to stop the negotiations regularly to recast a minutes per level spell. And no one minds that you take a T-Rex-sized shit, because...
Well, I mean, even if it was in town, that would
My God, just get him a ring of sustenance since he won't shit anymore. Whatever.
It's a good point.
Let's see if he has the money for a ring of sustenance. I don't remember.
He has. Okay, just see how much, and I'll give him the rest of it. Just so I don't have to smell it.
No need. He can afford one as is.
Cool.
Is this?
We probably had this. I probably had this discussion with him.
Yeah.
Like after the first time I smelled it.
That's probably true. Is this being crafted for him?
No,
we don't have forging.
Yeah. Okay.
We're maxing out on Arms and Armor and Wondrous, so it didn't make any sense to invest in more.
So that's both of his ring slots.
You guys check out my bluff. You calling me a liar?
A 39. Oh, that's a 62 diplomacy with a plus 7 for
Fuck
bluff.
you.
That's a...
What the fuck? Why do you have a plus 4 for? What the hell? Oh my God. No.
That's a 69.
I suck.
Plus 2, 8 another from my familiar.
I can use it for bluff. How much is your bluff?
I did not invest in bluff.
Boom.
My bluff is only... Oh, where's that?
So, I mean...
16.
I mean, from the standpoint of the Chelish envoys, they just quietly regret that your potential as slavers is unrealized. Because, I mean, with Flux, with a 62, you can generally talk someone into selling themselves for nothing.
No, they pay you then.
Yeah, I have this great opportunity. You start at the bottom, but if you work hard, you will stay at the bottom the rest of your life. It'll be great.
Yeah.
And you can help me get more slaves. So you put them into the pyramid scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a matter of, like, you just find, it's like, listen, I have a halo. You want to be mine. You could live your entire life some rando, or you could be the slave of someone with a halo.
Seems legit.
Yeah,
Well, he already has leadership.
everyone will be my cohort.
You're a follower. You only have one cohort.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, follow.
Yeah, you have at this point kind of amassed a bit of a cult surrounding you, kind of like an ancient Greek mystery cult sort of thing going. I mean, how secret it is your decision, because they'll listen to you. But from their perspective, they kind of want to do what you want.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. I'm not sure exactly how. Like, he's torn between. Like, he does feel this power of the divine within him, but I think he needs to check himself so he doesn't think of himself as a true god or demigod.
Yeah, you gotta check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
So are you like a business champion or what?
In that scope, I mean,
Essentially, think of
yeah.
it like it's sort of like. I mean, it's not they're not worshiping you as a god because they know perfectly well that you can't grant divine spells, and that's pretty clear cut. It's kind of a matter of, I'm trying to think of a good analogy that isn't like a sinister cult. Like, I guess.
You hear that, Leon? A god needs to be able to grant divine spells, so Yozakura is not a god. Unless...
I never said he was.
Well, they believe he is.
Cool story, bro.
Well, people worship like the concept of nature. It doesn't mean it's a god. And also
druids are weird. Druids are not clerics,
Mm-hmm.
and divine spells aren't granted to them in that same sense.
Leon, how bad is it looking?
For what?
For you joining the game eventually.
I don't know when my internet's gonna come back.
I mean, it's just going to be a very much a RP session. So I don't think it really matters if he is on his phone.
Yeah, if his checks can be rolled, and it looks like they don't even need to be.
Yeah. So I got bluff. Kevin has diplomacy, and the T-Rex has intimidate.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's what I want to do. The first time we meet the negotiator, I will diplomacy and say, you want to negotiate for us, really? I think.
Oh, you really don't.
No.
She's really easy on.
That was a joke, but yeah, I just like you said, like you can convince anyone of anything with a bumped up diplomacy. And with Mom's bluff, we could tag team and actually inception ideas and actually make her give us concessions and make them think that they're her idea.
Holy shit, dude.
Well, is there anything else to do before we start?
Nope.
I don't know. I'm going to try and interject as little as possible. So,
you can all talk. It's not going to affect how the skills work. I'm not going to do that to you.
Oh, you're right. But like for the sake of my data,
Your voice is not that bad.
Well, in any case, so it's still early in the morning, probably just as you're finishing getting her set up. By the way, you have a torsive to watch her.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
So,
we'll punch her like every half an hour, just to make sure she stays unconscious.
Oh, I made this point earlier, so I will do it again. The weapon is in the bag of holding, and so is the armor, because diplomacy.
okay.
Oh, put our weapons and armor in. Yeah, that does make sense.
After a little bit of time, the hotel owner, I say after a little bit of time, like around when you're getting her secured, not much time has passed, the hotel owner shows up and says, "They've arrived. They're waiting outside."
Wonderful. We'll go and meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Have the negotiation room ready.
Alright, though if you intend to have your, friend with you,
Set it up outside then.
Yes, that will be necessary, I fear.
Well, hurry it up. Here's an intimidate. Give him a mean look.
Why?
He flinches.
Because I'm an asshole.
He flinches, and, right away, sir, right away.
Good job.
So, If you want to go to the front door, I'll
Teleport us, please.
Okay.
Terribly sorry.
Not there. There's sort of the front area. I'll open the door.
Here.
Sort of a middle-aged woman, dressed thoughtfully, steps forward.
What is dressed thoughtfully?
Well, it's whatever that icon depicts.
Okay.
She introduces herself. She says, Hello. You must be the Silver Ravens.
I nod. No words at all.
On behalf of Cheliax and of House Thrune, I thank you for joining me in these negotiations. I wish to assure you that my job is not to convince you to allow Kintargo to remain a part of Cheliax. That tomb, as they say in Nidal, is sealed. My job is simply to ensure that Ravenel's transition to a free republic goes as smoothly as possible, and to resolve several outstanding details regarding the relationship between Cheliax and this new nation. Perhaps after we've had some time to wash and have a meal, we could begin our discussions.
That is fine by us.
Very well. She introduces herself to you guys specifically. She's Nizara. You likely have heard... Well, of course you've heard of her by this point. You made knowledge checks earlier. She's... Or Noreza, not Nizara. She, after introducing herself to you, sort of sits down and orders some food.
Was there not like a whole table prepared?
Well, she wants to eat first. She's not... The negotiation...
Yeah, a table for eating is what I meant, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been preparations made for her. The innkeeper didn't necessarily know exactly what she would do.
Cool. Okay.
She sort of looks up at the T-Rex, and introduces herself. And, hello. It's always fascinating to meet interesting creatures. She holds out her hand, and the T-Rex, leans down so that she can shake his, little T-Rex arm. This one, makes a snide comment, says, sort of flinches, and says, do they make lizard-sized breath mints? And she kind of shushes him. He introduces himself to you guys, though, as, he's Ermelind Orazio. He is her scribe. His job, he explains, is to write down your agreements so that they can be formalized into a proper treaty for all parties to sign.
Sounds good.
This creature, you don't need to make any knowledge checks to recognize that he is a barbed devil.
Barbed devil.
He sort of just stands by her. She would, and he doesn't really like to talk, it seems. She would explain to you, this is my personal bodyguard. His name is Terenzian. Don't mind him, and unless I somehow come into physical danger, his presence shouldn't be noticeable.
On that note, we did capture and detain someone who is attempting to disrupt these negotiations with violence.
Oh, good. You did manage to get a sending to our envoy about that. I'm glad to hear it was resolved.
Yes, we took great pains to make sure that nothing would interrupt, and certainly we would not want any harm to come to such a famed negotiator as yourself.
Yes. These two. Let me check which one is which.
Are they both witches? I'm sorry.
So all the DCs just increased by 5.
Shit.
Not really. I wouldn't do that to all of you.
Okay, just the bluff. It's okay.
No. But... Oh, let's see. That one is... Hold on... To do... This is, Athtinia. She is a student of diplomacy, and she's here to do kind of like sometimes happens in doctors' offices, where they bring in a student to watch. Have you guys had that happen to you at a doctor's office?
No.
No.
I don't think I've ever went to a doctor.
Wait.
In like the last 10 years,
ever
maybe?
go to a doctor.
Well,
Yeah, probably like in the last 10 years.
Well, that'll give you a lifespan statistically representative of your country, so,
No, like, a lot of my family goes, like, regularly to a doctor for, like, tooth pain or, like, a muscle fucking thingy or back pain.
Okay.
But I never get any illness, I guess.
Well, I've had
Right,
it
but you're
happen.
supposed to go before that.
I've had it happen when I've been, I know this happened to me once at the dentist. It was a normal doctor where it was a checkup. I went in, and my permission was required, even though I think I was a minor when this was happening. But with my permission, a med student was just there watching.
I've never gone.
I think
to
it happened
anything
once at
except,
the
like, a family
genealogist.
doctor, so public large hospitals and stuff never happened.
But I've had that happen to me, and that's
Yeah.
what she is. She is
Cool.
here to watch negotiations take place. And then this is Sable, my personal assistant.
Is she carrying 2 handbags and has glasses on?
Sable has a bag of holding type 1 with her.
Cool.
Yeah. You notice that these guys didn't come in any kind of vehicle, so they probably used magic to get here.
She shadow stepped here, I think.
She did indeed. She's a 15th level bard.
Oh,
Just for
Awesome.
some perspective. She's not. She's meant to be a meaningful force in combat with that assassin if it comes up. So, like, she has the devil as her personal bodyguard, but she's objectively more powerful. Though he's more martially focused than she is. But in any case, she's not some fucking weakling. She's a pretty powerful NPC.
Cool.
In fact, everyone here has stats because it's possible to get in combat with them. In any case, they sort of roll local nobility, and this is going to be kind of a thing where diplomacy can be used to know about diplomatic things. Like, it's sort of like knowledge diplomacy.
54 diplomacy.
You know that it's Chalice tradition for negotiations to take place in the afternoon and evening, never in the morning. Because...
Do I know why?
The logic is that people should be well rested and relaxed before going into negotiations so that everyone has a clear mind.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
And she's going to want, and so that's what she's going to want. You can converse with her, in any way you wish. You can converse with any of them. The bird, at one point, sort of walks nervously up to Trizian and just kind of just looks up at him and says, so, what's it like being a devil? And Trizian just says, worse now. And that kind of convinces the bird to go away.
That's not very polite.
Nothing better than arguing with yourself, eh, puppy?
I thought of that joke last night, and I just had to figure out a way to put it in.
Sure.
Yeah. The T-Rex is kind of just waiting outside.
I'll go have a chat with them. Like, just sitting around, lounging until the afternoon.
Alright. Okay.
So anybody else doing anything until the afternoon?
I don't
If
know
nobody
if
said
there will be
anything, then that's
to
a no.
do.
Okay, puppy, fast forward to afternoon.
Alright. So, a table will be set up outside. I'm going to actually get a table to use for this. Because it's being put outside, it's not the good table. So, I'm gonna
just have one of those green spaces and put a table in it. No need to do it on the same map if it's too difficult.
No, it's just a matter of
Zenrai could do a Hero's Feast.
A bountiful banquet.
Yeah, they'll
give us.
They'll accept that.
They'll give us a table, a very nice table and chairs outside.
All right.
At least only last for an hour, but at least gives us something to start with.
So the table and chairs go away after an hour? You could also just have Hero's Feast for lunch if you wanted.
Let me see how many times she probably couldn't cast enough to keep it. Not enough for all day. No, 6-level spell. So yeah, we could do it for and then just a regular table for the actual negotiation. That's fair.
All right. So would that mean you guys are all under the? Are you giving them all a Hero's Feast here for their breakfast? All right. They
may as well.
Yeah, they gracefully accept that from you.
I think it's a good gesture.
Yes. So, accept that from you. You guys can converse, with them over breakfast / over brunch.
Mm-hmm.
The devil essentially will never talk unless directly addressed. The others will, the others mostly, they talk kind of, they talk gracefully. The diplomat is incessantly polite and impeccably patient with absolutely any shenanigans of yours. Because she's in a module that could be being run through by a group of psychotic murder hobos. And she is designed accordingly.
We are psychotic murder hobos.
We are definitely not.
We let them gently go to sleep, and then we murder them. That's much better.
Yeah, that
Actually,
works.
A question to that fact is there a contingency if somebody decides to kill everybody?
The contingency is you're fucked. Because there are consequences for your actions.
Please.
That's a good contingency.
Consequences. Please.
But yeah, she, relatively early on, very, very politely asks, if she may, asks if she may use prestidigitation on the T-Rex.
Okay.
For what reason?
Okay.
To make him not smell like a T-Rex. She phrases it as gracefully as possible. To, well,
Give us a
You know-
diplomacy check to see if she actually succeeds at.
Yeah.
I
He says,
feel like he would do that for himself,
Yeah. He has. He prepared.
that's
being
true.
intelligent and all.
That's true. You're right, and he does have prestidigitation. So yeah, he doesn't smell like a T-Rex. He smells like roses. No, he smells like a really awesome flower. He smells.
Are you saying roses are not awesome?
Yeah, you're right. He smells like roses. Roses
Like
are
nuts.
awesome. He smells like roses. He has to mage hand away bees sometimes.
That's just cute.
Yeah. So. And in fact, on top of the roses, while he's prestidigitationing himself, he kind of puts a little pattern on himself. Like basically gives himself sort of a paint job. So he leaves most of his skin intact, but there's this really cool.
Fresh ink.
There's this really cool like silver feather motif going on all over him.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of him eating lunch with a knife and fork controlled by Mage Hand.
Oh.
It's a really big knife and fork. Like, it weighs the full 5 pounds. But yes. And, in fact, he might, rather than that, he might instead use, Unseen Servant. Because he has Unseen Servant to help him with things.
Yeah.
He has a nice napkin to wipe his mouth off. Yeah. Stay dainty.
So, when the Heroes' Feast ends, and they've well and truly settled into their rooms, this takes a few hours, they kind of want to go outside.
Sure.
So...
Why is this module so poor in regards to giant creatures? Like, you have to expect us to have a T-Rex.
No.
Right? No? God.
In no part of the module is there a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Well, let's agree to disagree.
Well, that's what you just never got him the thing I told you to get him. That would fix like everything.
What's that?
Belt of the Weasel. It's not
He does have that. He does have
then he can go anywhere.
We don't want him to be squeezing. He needs to be comfortable.
He's not squeezing. He just walks in. He's treated as like a I think a medium creature without the squeeze connection to go through a door. It just happens.
Okay.
Cool.
So the devil is not really taking part in negotiations. He's standing sentry, making constant perception checks for anything untoward.
Yep.
Yeah. The others are mostly completely silent. He's going to be carefully writing down pretty much everything anyone says. He has a large journal, sort of bound journal, in which to scribble down notes. So you sit down, and she. Thank you again for coming here.
No need to thank us. It benefits both of our nations.
I'm glad to hear you thinking of things that way.
Well, how do these things happen? We're not really experts.
I have several issues I intend to bring up. I imagine you have some as well.
You are correct.
Traditionally, we would take turns. Traditionally, those who initiate negotiations would go first, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Is football invented yet? If it is, I say the ball is in your court. If it's not, then I don't say that.
Football has not been invented.
Man,
Also,
I say what. Yeah, what is it, Puppy?
I was gonna say, is that football or soccer, which other countries wrongly call football?
I think it's actually for tennis.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is it? Whoops. I always thought of it. Is tennis invented? Here you go. Wow.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it has been.
How is football not invented, though? Like, football is so basic. You just push a ball with your foot.
If by that you mean soccer, then it probably has been, yeah.
My god, there's football. Football is the one you use only your foot in, not fucking hand egg ball.
Right.
Whatever. It's not even a ball.
That would be soccer. And soccer was invented by, like, the Mayans who would sacrifice people who lost.
I assure you it didn't come from Mayans to Europeans.
Mayans thing was more similar to basketball, I think.
Yeah, and they used their fucking elbows and knees, not their foots and hands.
See, I
was always under the impression that it was the Mayans because basketball was invented by a math teacher. So
in Canada, yeah, we know.
So she begins with her first issue. As a single country, Kintargo and the greater Rovenal area participate to a significant extent in Cheliax's economy. Your area exported silver salmon, a quite delicious variety, large amounts of salt, silver itself, of course, and that beautiful silver-flecked granite which comes from your quarries. In order to prevent disruption in our economies coming from these recent developments, I would like to see the prices of Cheliax would like to see the prices of those items set, and a guarantee that you would continue to sell some minimum, let's say, 70% of those exports to Cheliax as a nation.
A fair proposition, but first of all, we are not economists, and nor do we have any proficiency in economy. So setting up those prices right now.
I'm a merchant, and Kevin's a merchant, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
roll knowledge
Economic
local.
ideals are kind of on the table here.
Yeah.
Like, can we set the prices right now and say they're fair?
She does propose a price. I'm not sure what it would be, but roll knowledge local.
Kevin or Leon? Leon, yeah, you're both, actually, because you're Kevin and Leon.
Either way, because he's got the sheet.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So the price she proposes is something along the lines of a few silver pieces per pound, which you know to be roughly what Rovnal gets now for those things. But you also know that Rovnal could get significantly more selling to foreign markets.
How available are those markets?
Plenty. They would want to buy from you because those are goods that they previously didn't have access to and that are pretty high quality.
Okay, cool. So,
We, as a growing country, we need to be able to leave our markets open in order to establish good trade with other countries and also good relations. It's all important to we be able to use our goods as an envoy mechanism in order to get these relationships set up. So we could not dictate such a low price versus what these items are actually worth, and we would not want to limit our capacity to sell to other regions.
our counter offer is like 25, right, guys?
Our offer is
25%?
0 and 0.
No,
So, no set
probably
price.
about 50%.
No set price and no set amount. Is our counter offer.
Well, there's no reason we can't set a price for something like 10 years and 60% for the same 10 years with the price restriction leaving after the fact. You know.
Okay. The results have been determined by these rolls, none of which are lower than 55. She says, I don't believe that these insistencies should be significantly harmful to your economy. It's doing quite well now with similar prices and with 100% export rates to Cheliax. You should see
Okay,
nothing
it could
but
do a lot.
improvement.
It could do a lot better if
We
it
have
wasn't 100% to Cheliax.
We need to establish a lot of infrastructure, and that will require significant investment, which will require gold, and we need the gold from trade in order to make these investments into our infrastructure.
She considers your argument. I suppose perhaps 70% is overzealous. Maybe 50.
50 still seems far, far too high. We could offer a dedicated 20% at the very most, and that would be at 80% of the current market value that we establish with other countries, and that based on our relationship here, and that will be continuing to grow as our market grows.
I'm gonna whisper to Flux, telling him how if we don't provide these resources, they're just gonna try to come and take them by force.
Well,
They
not because
can't.
we have the contract.
Yeah, but they'll probably be able to.
That'll
So
come
let's
later.
not give them in to do
The,
it. No, I meant like they could, for all they want, they can just like ally with the neighboring fucking country and have them invade us.
Yeah, but they could have done that anyway.
Yeah.
And also they can't because that mystical contract we signed.
Well,
I'm
they
just talking
actually
out of my.
they can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, they can stick Nadal on you as things go, as things are
Yeah.
right now. That will come up later in the negotiations. But 20% is simply not enough. That would cause Cheliax to get far less than what it currently gets.
Let me be clear, you are free to buy as much as you want, but at full market value.
30% is the absolute lowest I could expect the Queen to ever accept.
I wink to Flux. That's fine by me.
We will
So
offer
it's your call.
20% at 80% cost, and an additional 10% at normal cost. That is my offer.
Well, the point of what they're doing is to get a standard amount that is always delivered to them, and then the option to buy more is always on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but them getting that standard amount is bad for us.
And of course,
because we can sell that standard amount to somebody else for a lot more.
And of course, the price setting would apply to any more that they chose to buy, though you wouldn't be required to sell that extra amount to them.
Yep.
We will offer them first dibs up to 50% at whatever market price we set, and then we will reserve 50% for other trades.
I suppose I could accept a 50% guarantee with the understanding that the set price could be regularly renegotiated in accordance with what was fair to your country.
Yep.
That seems agreeable. Does everyone agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah. And the needs of the market are important, so yeah.
So, price is locked. This price is a noticeable discount from what you would get elsewhere, but is a little bit higher than what you were getting from Cheliax before. This price lock is open to yearly renegotiation, and Cheliax has first dibs on 50% of exports of all 4 of those goods.
Right, but
that's fine by me.
But most of that is at the market price, or around the mark.
Oh, so yeah, the dibs they have to make.
She wants 30% of it at least. She wants 30% of it to be at effectively a discounted price.
Right. So 20% was at the 20% discount, then an additional 10 at 10% discount, and then 20 at market price. That was the breakdown. So.
Yep.
So I think fair. It was fair. So, or we're going to say call it 15%, just to be easy for the 30%, and then 20% at market.
She likes the first way you phrased it.
Okay, we'll go with that.
So the first 20% is at a substantial discount, the next 10% is at a lower one, the next 20% is not at one, but is promised to them first if they want it.
And then if they don't want a lot, then they get the bigger discount first, then it's better for them.
Yes, certainly. All right. The scribe writes that down, and it is not finalized until you sign the big old treaty at the end, but...
If he would pass the paper to all of us to look at it, that would be great.
He gives you, in fact, he is able to sort of tear a page out of his journal, and the page behind it immediately still has the writing.
Cool.
So he's able to pass you copies of his notes.
Cool. I'll put it in front of me on the table, and that's it, just to have it.
He's been writing down a lot. He effectively has a transcript of the negotiations. Cool. But the conclusions page he was writing on says what I outlined. All right. So all of that actually took a couple of hours in Universe. There is a short break, maybe lasting about 10 minutes. See you then.
Okay.
Are we actually going to take a 10-minute break?
Yes, we're actually taking 10. I need to pee.
Cool.
Be thinking about which of your issues you'll bring up to her first on your turn, which is coming up.
Yeah, if anybody's here.
I am back.
Okay.
That was nothing to do for 10 minutes, so... So what are you up to, since you have no internet?
I'm playing Zelda.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'd rather have like Roll20 in front of me, but yeah.
So what happened
trying
with
to
you?
look shit up and I can't.
What are you trying to do?
I don't have the schedule for when like the Three Dragons happen. So I'm just kind of wandering around cooking shit.
I'm pretty sure the dragon stuff, you just have to look for the dragon from a high place and go for it. I've only done one dragon.
I know where they are. I just don't know when they show up, and so it becomes a problem.
I'm pretty sure they don't show up. You go to them.
I've tried that a few times. They have not appeared. So
Weird.
Yep.
I've
yeah, I
only
don't know.
done
I
the
assume they're doing construction or something in the area.
Oh, have you done the Terry Town?
Where?
Terry Town, that town you're building.
Oh, I haven't done that yet. Is that really cool or?
It's nice. It's like a cool little nifty story. Like nothing unpredictable. It's basically just a giant fetch quest.
Sounds about right.
Well, the whole game is a giant fetch quest. Bless you, I guess, or whatever you want.
I don't really have a way to mute right now because I'm on Bluetooth.
No. I meant, I don't know who's gonna bless you. So.
I'm sure we can find somebody. Oh shit! I found the thing.
What did you find?
There's a weird guy that I was supposed to find. He's a merchant of weird items.
Oh yeah, the Kilton, I think.
Yeah.
The Fang and Bone or something.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him before, so.
Oh, if you've just found him, like this is the first time, take a picture of him right now instead of him teleporting. Because if you talk to him, he's just gonna teleport somewhere else.
Shit.
Did you already talk to him?
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, he just like goes to another town, and you just come by him. It's not really that important. I think you already have the quest for you to take a picture of him, right?
I think so, yeah. From the guard.
Yeah, from the guard at the stable in Akala region.
Hello.
Hello. Wow, exactly 10 minutes. Wow.
Huh, it has been, hasn't it? So, it's your turn. You can bring up an issue. If you pick one, she will immediately concede. That still counts as your turn. She's literal like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? Can you repeat that, Puppy?
It's your turn. Pick an issue.
Kevin's not alive yet.
Ew.
Oh, he is. Okay, good.
Okay, so first on the list is none of our citizens can be taken as slaves, and all current Ruvenal citizens must be returned to Ruvenal, if they want to. That should have been a note, because if somebody's just living there peacefully...
These weren't necessarily in order of importance, so we can go through and see if there's anything that really stand out as being...
Yeah. Should we go for something trade-related, like the slave one?
I don't know. Citizenship is probably the most important thing.
Citizenship. Which one is that?
Exactly what you were talking about.
Oh, the citizens. Okay. So let's go with the first one. Is that alright with you, Kevin?
That's fine.
Okay, we lay down the heat. None of our citizens can be taken as slaves, and all current Ruvenal citizens must be returned to Ruvenal if they wish to.
We can probably fold in our citizens shall not be molested or harassed while in Chiliac. That seems like a related issue.
Yeah, we'll put that in.
Generic citizenship respect.
Yeah.
Well, that's the natural way that the nation of Cheliax would seek to interact with a nation with which it wishes to be allied.
Well, of course, but as our devil friends know, everything should be put to paper.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have an issue at this point, let's just consider it and move on.
Of course. We wouldn't accept slave stock from such a nearby ally. That gets written down. I suppose, as a formality, this would be made reciprocal. Though I don't expect the issue of slavery to come up in the reverse direction.
Correct. But we would the treating with...
You know, the government changes hands all the time. You never know.
I suppose. So, basically, it's a mutual agreement. Both agree. What gets written down on the paper is both agree never to recognize, never to
Actively enslave
actively
the
engage
others.
in or recognize the enslavement of a citizen of the other nation. Both agree that persons visiting the other's nation are protected under that other nation's laws as a citizen would be.
Yep, and we'll get to the passport laws in a bit after they pour their point, because now it's their turn.
Much of what has gone on so far has been under the Actually, that was, yeah, she actually doesn't want to bring up another point until tomorrow, so...
You guys want to skip forward to tomorrow, or something's gonna happen?
Things are going to happen.
Cool, let's go.
So, a little early, because you brought up a point that she didn't really have any objection to. Things are going to basically be done. It's going to be dispersed. Let's get the map up for me so I know how to read some of this. Everyone is permitted to their rooms, or is led to their rooms. They will lounge sort of in the public area until nighttime, essentially.
I posted something in character. If our two players want to look at it, or is that like a standard between two neighboring
That's
nations?
standard.
That's a
This is
standard
the-
between nations, like generally.
Yeah.
Do they actually recognize us as a nation?
Yes.
That is the intent, yes.
So no need to bring that up.
Oh.
So if they're lounging, I'm lounging.
So they continue to lounge. You can talk about anything you want with them in general, though they will not talk about negotiation-y matters.
I don't know how much lore you got for them, but I would ask how she got into the negotiation scene.
There is an entry on her, so I'll see if it says.
Like, you're not very good at pulling stuff out of your ass, so I don't want to force it.
Jeez.
You're really good at
I'm-
putting stuff in your ass, I assume.
Oh my god. Dude, that's not.
I'm sorry.
I get the
Oh,
feeling
really?
that
Oh, really? That's
guys
not cool.
Without us knowing.
Puppy, was that actually too bad? Or...
I'm trying to read, bro.
Okay, sorry.
Trying to read her backstory to answer your question.
See, Kevin, Puppy doesn't care about him being called EY'd
I
ass.
think he cares. It's just he cares more about being distracted.
So, essentially, well, truth be told, I've been roughly intending to take basically this role almost as long as I remember. My mother I've been an orator of great skill even as a young child. My mother recognized my talents and encouraged me to train as an ambassador. Quite naturally, I did. It's truly fascinating how once you get good enough at public speaking, you can eventually teleport. It's just one of those things, you know?
I know. It's funny. The scarier and scarier I look, the more people love me. Check this out. I scream loudly at the bartender to bring me a glass and use diplomacy instead of intimidate. For 48.
He quickly runs to the back and brings you a glass. It doesn't have anything in it because you didn't specify a substance.
Sure. Whoops. I guess however much I'm intimidating, I still can't remember to ask for something.
Yes.
So that's the interaction I do. I don't know if anybody else wants to do anything.
Are any of you off away from? Are any of you like away from Nereza?
Probably not specifically.
Like, are any of you chilling out in your rooms or anything like that?
Just wandering
The
about.
T-Rex is
area,
probably outside.
Other than the T-Rex.
Talking to the locals, making sure the T-Rex is okay.
T-Rex is not necessarily in the immediate vicinity of the hotel when he's not needed, because he would just be sitting there and get kind of bored. So he's kind of walking about. Sort of just engaging in some boredom relief. Maybe having his unseen servant hold his spell book up to him, or hold a different book up to him, just so he can kind of read it. An unseen servant is holding a novel up to one of his eyes, and he's reading it. So, unless there's anything else, and unless one of them is able to catch one of you alone, by catch I just mean like converse with one of you without Nereza around.
Yeah, I mean it'd be remotely possible for me to, because I'm just wandering around. So.
Well,
Like I probably don't spend all the time next to her,
yeah.
But most of it, yes.
Right. You want to get to know everybody else too, and the layout of the building.
All right.
I gotta say the art for the blonde elf is really good.
Yeah.
Like the shading is done extremely well.
Flux and Zenray, where are you? Are you just hanging out with them?
Sure. We're being. She's being kind of coquettish, but she's communicating, and I'm mostly listening. But we'll respond and talk about whatever issues they bring out.
Torsiv is just sort of periodically bonking the assassin on the head with the broadside of his sword.
Yep.
And sort of when come nighttime, they retire to their rooms. They each have their own room. The devil is out in the hallway out front of Nazar's room.
Cool. We'll take watch.
All right.
I do first watch.
So before
JRX does the rest, of course.
Before any of you actually manage to get to sleep, this lady approaches whichever of you has sort of stood on watch and sort of taps you on the shoulder and says, hello?
Yes, probably me since I'm the one first watch.
I would like to talk to you guys as a group, if I could.
And what is the reason for that?
I have something of a proposition.
I knock on the door for our room and go inside and tell the guys, relay that information.
Sure.
Do you guys agree? If we all agree, we bring her inside so we can talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
We open the window so the T-Rex can participate.
All right. Let's see. Scroll down. I understand you guys have a great deal at stake in these negotiations. We all do, including certain individuals not present at them. There are interested parties in Egorian, which you guys know to be the capital of Cheliax, who have strong reasons for wishing Kintargo to remain a part of Cheliax. If you're willing to listen to their offer, you may find it in your best interests to concede all future negotiation points to Nereza.
That seems unlikely.
I'm interested in hearing it, but...
Do you guys smell that? Because I smell bullshit.
In exchange for that agreement to concede, here's their offer.
I start discerning lies when she says this is their offer.
Alright. I have to roll a save as though she is lying so that you can't tell by my failure to do so when someone is. So... what's the DC?
I'll make sure. It should be 10 plus spell level plus charisma modifier. So I'm checking the spell level. So 4 plus 4, 18.
Alright.
I wouldn't know if she made it or not.
Yeah. So, she will, okay. She will read off the offer. All right. You are being offered 50,000 GP, a +5 Chaotic Outsider Bane longbow, a +5 Cruel Ominous Lucerine hammer, and
That's the thing that I use, but
exactly what I just described.
Almost. It's now +5 and probably some stuff on it whenever I can get to my sheet.
Yeah. And a Staff of the Hierophant. And I encourage you to look up what a Staff of the Hierophant is.
Sure, it's Hierophant, but okay.
I'm not going to debate that.
That's fucking expensive.
It really is, and I was going to mention this sooner. Any money that I don't spend on crafting, which Kevin knows what that number is, I'm just going to give back to the town. Because, the government needs money to run on, so...
Okay. You do not discern any lies?
Kevin, can you roll sense motive, just in case?
You are all free to roll sense motive if you wish.
We're not going to take it no matter what. I mean, this is not really worth it in the long run.
Yeah, not at all.
In fact, the T-Rex is going to make the choice to roll sense motive. Though... So yeah, Kevin, you find yourself deeply suspicious of these mysterious, deeply vague benefactors offering you these things.
Right. And even if
go ahead.
Like, what we would know based on our being in these negotiations, like, do we have an idea of what the scope of, like, the GDP of Revenel is?
It must be enormous compared to what was just offered.
Okay, so that would not be considerable considering that you're saying, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Poppy, we did go to that devil and ask him about the negotiations and how it might be going on. Would he have mentioned anything about other benefactors?
Not really.
Okay, so we don't know who they are or what they do exactly.
Yeah, you can roll a knowledge, history, nobility, local check, or a diplomacy check to know about diplomatic things.
Well, here's diplomacy, 48.
Okay. Both of you, even Valere, on his lonesome, know about a Chelish negotiation tactic. They refer to it as testing the waters, wherein a false third party is presented as making an offer that is not expected to be taken, basically as a way of gauging the other side's reaction to learn information which can then be used. In other words, basically what it would be is someone comes up and says, hey, you have these other people and they're going to give you 1 million GP to throw the negotiations. No one involved expects you to do that, but how you go about rejecting it gives information to the other side.
Interesting.
Okay, we put her next to the door and we go start humming to each other. so that she doesn't hear what we're gonna decide.
All right, she will willingly stand outside.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do is I'll enter spiritual form, and then we can talk with telepathy.
Okay. What I say is we turn her down with no reason whatsoever and tell her to go to sleep.
That seems fair.
Yeah,
So,
she'll have the least information this way.
So that she comes back in, and I'm glowing, and we say, we reject your offer, and suggest that you do not make another. And we walk away.
Okay.
No, we shove the door in her face.
No, we were polite about it, but
Okay, fine. We'll be polite about it.
Polite but firm.
She's polite about accepting this rejection. She looks a little disappointed. She nods. And she leaves the room. Roll perception.
Mm-hmm.
My god, I suck. Look at Kevin with his fucking 30 fucking... Should be 35, but oh well.
36, actually, yeah.
No,
She turns left. Her room is to the right. She's probably going to report to Nereza about how you reacted.
Okay. I think her mom probably got that with an 18.
18 would... It's the big thing there would be remembering that...
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't let me know.
Okay, let's go to sleep.
The only way I could consider even entertaining accepting that is like if the GDP was like 10,000 GP a year, and like okay, well, that would be.
Oh fuck no!
You
No,
know,
it's
I have no
millions.
Even that is... He's a piece of shit. Yeah.
It must be tens or hundreds of millions.
Right. It would,
I mean, considering the produce and the fish and everything else trade we just did is probably worth more.
Yeah, more money changed hands and was agreed upon.
Yeah, but she's trying to... We're the negotiators. This money's gonna go to the negotiators.
Yeah,
It's not gonna go to
it's a bribe.
Yeah, this is a bribe.
right. That's what I'm saying. The only way I would agree to it is if the bribe was worth more than anyone would reasonably want a bribe. You know, worth more than the negotiations themselves.
I wouldn't take anything less than 200 for myself.
As I probably just threw 150 at the city, not a problem.
Yeah. A gold at this point is not really that big of an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, what is a paltry sum to us is enough for anyone to live on for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So we go to our respective rooms, and
I stand guard for the first 2 hours. The TRX stands guard for the rest of the night, since he only needs 2 hours of sleep. And that'll be that.
Alright. Alright. So, negotiations begin the next day at the afternoon?
Yep.
A little earlier this time, perhaps. And it is their turn.
Yes, indeed.
All of our discussions so far have been predicated on the premise of travel of both goods and persons between Cheliax and Rovenal, but as things stand, that is somewhat difficult. Due to the actions of no one in particular, the Minador Keep is rather smashed, caved in, destroyed, and substantial land travel between Cheliax and Rovenal should require that it be repaired. Seeing as such a reopening of the Minador Gap would benefit both of our nations, Cheliax supposes that it's only fair that it be here that the Minidor Gap, that the repairs, expensive as they are, have their costs split between our two nations. Furthermore, as the Minidor Keep is technically just outside of Ravenel, we feel it's only appropriate that our own military control the site.
Okay, let's discuss this between each other first.
Yeah, I would say our counter. This is like in our sidebar, which I can do through the spiritual forum. I can do it 1 minute at a time, so you can have sidebar with each conversation. And what I would say is, as part of the repairing of the Minidor Keep, we add in infrastructure for 2 guard stations, and
that's what I'm saying.
We have guards from each, and that's like like a checkpoint where where you go through one side and then you go through the other side, like the double security kind of thing. Does that sound reasonable, Leon?
I don't disagree, but my thought would be that we build our own similar size fort in our own territory, so there's no dispute in the future.
Well, this one checkpoint is very kind of important,
right?
Because it's the Minidor Gap.
It is, and we would have one on our side in the same general space.
There is no other our side. The Minidor Gap is in their territory.
The Minidor Gap is pretty much in one location. I mean, you could build a border checkpoint there, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be spanning the one gap that allows crossing but from one side to the other.
Right. So, okay, so I think that makes sense. I think we're basically in agreement there. And we can build further things as we want, but as far as this negotiations goes, that's what we do, our counter proposal.
Yeah, she wouldn't even consider it a concession to say that you can build whatever you want on your own territory. That's just a given.
Mm-hmm. And
but we want to build on their territory.
As part of the Minidor Gap, the Minidor Gap will be jointly controlled by both. It is. I think you said it was on Ravenel territory, right?
No, it's just outside of Ravenel territory.
It is literally immediately to the right of the borderline.
Okay, so
when they were drawing the border, they specifically put it outside so they can control it.
Okay, so what we would want is joint control over the Minidor Keep and our own, just kind of split the down the middle, kind of 80 sitcom style, dividing up the keep and of the resources thereof.
All right, roll checks.
Bluff.
Diplomacy would probably be the best.
No, I rolled bluff. Kevin rolled diplomacy.
You roll bluff, diplomacy, intimidate as a group.
I see.
To abstract out hours long of negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and draw. Did you already? Yeah, I think you already.
Yeah, I rolled the T-Rex. Her response is, naturally you can build whatever you want on your own territory. I suppose in addition to that it would be acceptable for the Minidor... It would be acceptable for you to have the same number of troops we do at the site.
And
our own little base. That's the same size as yours.
That would be on our side.
Leading
into the gap, or leading out of the gap, depending on your perspective. Yeah.
Like if you probably remember, there's like a kill hole in the gap. We split that in half. The right half is theirs. The left half is ours.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was considering. And then there would be, we would control the people going into or out of our area. They would control the people going into or out of their area.
Standard border crossing, except there's a fort on it.
Basically, yes.
Yep.
I think we're all.
Which is standard.
Yeah. Is that what she's saying, basically?
She would sort of prefer that both teams abstractly control the entire site together than to divide it up in 50-50 like that.
Well, it's divided in 50-50, but there's still emissaries between each other. But it's just to like put a.
I don't mind.
The Minotaur Keep isn't physically
common places.
The Minotaur Keep isn't.
The Minotaur Keep right now doesn't exist. We're gonna rebuild it.
True. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not physically symmetrical, but it could be being rebuilt. It could be. So.
That's a good point. There was a mountain where there is now empty space, and so we can use that to build the companion to what used to be the Minotaur Kit.
Yep. So, is that...
so here's a formalization of what she's willing to accept. The keep would be built to be bilaterally symmetrical, so that each nation would control an identical half of it. Neither nation can have more troops than the other without the other's permission at the entire site as a whole. So you can, if they have 40 troops there, you may not have 100.
And
yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So that neither of you could decide to start overwhelming each other.
Right.
Yep.
And we each has their own area of barracks or whatever, but it's not segregated. Like you can't join the other. You can't go on the other side. People have free access to both sides. That's what I think what she was saying, right?
That can be arranged in architecture, so don't worry about it.
With them being bilaterally symmetrical, she honestly would think of that question as almost too specific to put into the treaty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a matter for the persons designing and building the keep.
Okay. Understandable.
Understandable. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Whoever's in charge of the keep for your side is both... So the commanders of either side of the keep are each they don't answer to the other. So
right.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Basically South Korea and North Korea style. There's a little room where they both control it, and they can talk if they wanted to.
She doesn't technically know what that is, but it unsettles her that you would compare this loving and prosperous relationship she's trying to build to such rival of nations.
She doesn't know then. If she doesn't know then, how would she know if
They aren't actually that hostile or want to be to us. So.
Yeah, but I'm saying how it's divided and how there's a room divided exactly.
Right, but this is like Vietnam or China, Hong Kong. And I was about to pull up some photos and shit, but I can't because my internet's down.
Haha.
Okay. So.
It
is now our turn.
Yep.
So, Kevin, I say the second point.
Yeah, that was our biggest, most contentious one. I'm going to make sure we get that.
We can get all of them, but should we do the visa ones? Because we were discussing citizenships.
That one might come up on its own. So I think we hold off on that.
Okay.
So we went into the ones that we really are pushing for first, and then she might bring up something that we can tack on our thing. If needed.
Yeah, that does make sense. So, slaves that enter Rovenal while not under the supervision of a slaver are free to apply for amnesty. Amnesty, or whatever you fucking spell it because I suck.
Amnesty.
Amnesty. Yeah, that's cool.
I hope you appreciate the economic weight of that. It's hardly something simple to accept that escaped slaves may run to your country and be accepted with no recourse for their masters.
We don't accept slavery as a condition. So, in our country, once if they are free, then they are free. If they are not being controlled, then they are no longer slaves. They are free. if you are able to keep control of your slaves, this will never be an issue, and this clause will never come to effect.
Well, I don't think anyone here is that naive.
Bluff is 42.
So low.
Shut up. Shut up.
I only got a 47. That's so sad.
You disgust me.
Well, plus 2, so 51.
Perhaps some ingenuity will allow for a compromise. How many slaves do you suppose would take advantage of that offer in a given year? Not 1,000, certainly.
We don't know that. There could be an influx. There could be a downflux. We don't know.
There's no accounting for how many there would. If you would like us to, we would definitely keep track. If you wanted us to keep a census data.
Yes,
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I think what she's trying to say is we'll free this number of slaves instead of just having this door open.
Yeah.
Well, true.
Not
it is more
quite.
important that the door is always open.
So go ahead with your proposal. Sorry.
Perhaps it would be 1,000, not 2,000, certainly, then. What I'm saying is that if you keep track of how many escaped slaves apply for amnesty in your country, you could agree to buy a certain number of slaves from Cheliax every year, with the understanding that those who escape shall be among them. Money shall change hands according to a fair market estimation of the value of the slaves who escape to you. As far as our country is concerned, we will have claimed those slaves under eminent domain.
I'm not sure what the last part means.
The government can seize your property if they pay for it. In the United States, that's how that works.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so they're taking control of the slavers.
So basically, what's happening legally from their perspective is they are seizing those slaves from the public good and compensating their owners, and then selling them to you, but actually they're already physically in your country.
Okay, let's huddle up and discuss this.
Okay. I don't think. I understand that
this is just shitty. We can just buy slaves if we want to.
Right.
This is about leaving a door open as like a hope.
Right.
Like a ray of light.
Okay. I think the scaling mechanism I think is the key here. So we try to get some for free and then pay for some would be the way to go. So say the first.
Well, she's trying to make us close the door.
Roll sense motive.
Even if like one slave comes in that 1 year, we should keep the door open.
Yeah, she's not. That's not the argument. The argument is if we get over X amount, then we have to deny them amnesty.
So what I'm saying is we
she's more concerned about this from a financial perspective. She really was trying to set the number so high that would never happen.
Yeah.
So is she saying that like everything over 1,000 we pay for?
So here's what her proposal is. The Chelish, so 1,000 or 2,000 or some number, I mean, a better number means you buy more, so she's fine with that. Or a higher number means you buy more, so she kind of wants that, if anything. So you agree that every year you buy 1,000 or 2,000 or 2,500 slaves. However many escape to you are among those. You pay fair market price for them. What you would have paid if you had bought them all individually, and the difference you buy from them as well.
Okay, so we buy those 2,500, and then another one escapes to us. Can we give them nasty or not?
Perhaps the fixed number is misguided. If you simply kept track, we could agree to accept a fair market price for any slaves who happen to wind up in your hands.
So here's what, in our private chat, the first 500 are free, and then 1,000 at 50%, and then 500 at 75%, and then the rest full price.
That seems fair to me.
That's what
I would put forward the argument that we don't want our government turning them into assets because they are now in debt to our government.
But
no, but we're purchasing the freedom of those slaves. We're not purchasing these slaves.
They are free to do whatever they wish. They will not be indentured to the government.
Yeah.
So basically, the first 500 to escape are just given to us free. We don't have to pay for. The second, the 1,000 that come after, we're gonna pay half price for, and whatever comes after, we pay full price.
I said 500 for 75, and then the rest is full.
Well, whatever.
Okay.
That schedule is a little complicated, but... well, if, let's be honest, hundreds of slaves are going to escape to you every year, I suppose it's entirely fair for the government to offer you a bulk price. Perhaps all of them come at 25% market value.
We need to discuss something as a sidebar, though.
Okay, what is it?
There's a tactic they could play here. There's a tactic they could play here where they send shit tons of slaves over and bankrupt us.
Yeah.
And so we need to have a cap on what we pay for.
Oh, so we just have the right to refuse to buy slaves.
No, we have a cap on the number of slaves we pay for. Anything over that they recognize as a fault of not being able to maintain their slaves.
Yeah. In order to make that tactic impossible, she's certainly willing to accept that you may choose not to buy and return any who...
You will not return them.
Anything over 1,000... If you are so incapable of maintaining your slave population that we have thousands fleeing every year, then anything over 1,000 slaves are free at no charge.
Right, and then even then, returning them comes down to, oh my god, what if they get freed again? We're not paying for them twice.
Mm-hmm. So we'll pay 25% up to 1,000, and then after 1,000, they'll be free. You should be able to maintain control of your slaves to the point where there's not thousands fleeing into our country.
Make it 2,000, and that's acceptable.
That's a deal.
That's reasonable.
That seems reasonable, yeah.
All right.
And given what you said about the economy, that should not be a huge dent.
It's not.
Yeah.
You could not.
And it's 25%. That's like 1,000.
Yeah. So that was actually. I'm really happy we got a good deal there.
Yeah.
And we've got the proper stopgap, so they can't fuck us later.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that, Leon.
I love how we're like so far ahead in planning, even though we're not gonna play Kintargo after a lot of like
we're
years.
Invested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love how we're invested.
Greedy fuck and buy all the shit, but I'm throwing it at the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Winning in this game is making sure that people have a good life. I mean, that's what the win condition is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's her turn. I think we're done on that, right?
Yes.
Anything happens the second night?
No. There would have been an assassination attempt, but you undercut that.
Whoops! Did I do that?
I don't think we've any other. That's our big one. I don't think anything else is really that. It's really basic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, visas are really important, but that'll come later.
Right, but it's all like basic, like you say. Like things that she would just agree to almost out of hand.
Right.
Next up, I think is go ahead, Poppy. Sorry.
She still has several more issues to come up.
Yeah. It's...
If people have other things they want to come up with, we can try to think of some.
Okay.
So go ahead, Poppy.
Kintargo is something of an artistic treasure trove. It has numerous art objects, performance halls, historical artifacts, treasures of noble families, including many in Cheliax. Mementos of this nation's history reside within museums and the Alabaster Academy. We ask two things. First, we ask that anyone bearing a letter of recognition from House Thrune be granted unconditional access to art houses and museums. This access applies to instances where the location in question is a private residences or otherwise a privately owned collection. Furthermore, we ask that items that the government of Kintargo owns or controls will not be sold or destroyed without first being offering to House Thrune. If we choose to purchase them, we agree to pay a fair price.
That second one is pretty reasonable.
The first one is out of discussing this between ourselves. The first one is out of the question.
Yeah,
I don't actually have a problem with the first one, except that it extends to people's personal holdings.
Private. That's right. The bad part.
So what I would say, this folds into actually our next point really well.
And one other thing I forgot to mention, specifically a promise that the Alabaster Academy will not discriminate against Chelish citizens who try to become students there.
Okay.
All right, that's fairly reasonable.
Because she's afraid people will be like, "No, fuck you, Thruni. You're a slave-owning asshole. Fuck off." She wants to guarantee that won't happen.
Okay.
Well, we guarantee that the organization won't. The people are the people.
Well, the people run the organization. She doesn't expect.
The people who run the organization won't, but the other student might.
She doesn't expect you to micromanage how your citizens behave, except insofar as the institution does not discriminate against Chelish citizens on a formal level.
That's fine.
Sure.
Right. So here's what I would recommend.
That's a good idea.
It's our next point anyway. This is Cheliax, but it would see it both way. All citizens of respective countries who wish to travel to the other country would have to submit a request for a visa, including any slaves, and there would be special visas for students, for merchants, and other forms of or visiting dignitaries that wish to undergo certain activities, but these visas would never confer any ability that was not available to a ordinary Revenel citizen. So we could not grant you access to private residences, as that is just unreasonable request. That's unreasonable, way to put it?
The owners of the private residence are, of course, free to do whatever they want, and we shall try to make it easier for you to convince them.
Right, and based on various criteria, we may reject a request for a visa. But we will always keep that door open. We certainly we've never wholeheartedly deny anyone just because of their chillax.
You said visas would also be given to slaves. Am I to understand that enslavement would be recognized?
If a slave's come to us without his visa, he's just gonna get freed.
This is in accordance to our previous ruling, the previous section. If you are a slaver is under the control, if a slave is under the control of a slaver, they would be given that protection and would not be allowed to. If you enter our territory under the protection of a slaver, they would not be able to defect, essentially. Because that is an unreasonable request. That's something we would...
Okay, discuss sidebar talk. If a slave runs away and hides until his slaver gets out of Ruvenal and then comes out and asks for being freed, is that okay?
It's general practice. It's the crossing of the border as a free. That was the condition behind.
Okay.
That's how we got such a good rate. It's
what if he hides, runs away, comes back in? That happens.
That would technically. They're getting the semantics there.
The problem is that this is all about technicality, because they invented the fine line.
essentially, if you enter our country as a slave, you will leave the country as a slave. That is the distinction we're making. Just
Agreed.
That makes that's the as close to what I can remember from the Civil War. What I remember from the Civil War, it's willfully crossing the line. That is the act of being free. That is what happened. So, but back to the main point, though. Yes, they would be given some designation as a slave, and they would be given paperwork to that effect. Yes.
I must admit, I'm pleasantly surprised that you would accept something like that. Well,
the opposite would be theft, wouldn't it?
yes, it would. Well,
Basically, I mean, out of character. I'm trying to avoid. That's an all-out war condition. If trying to avoid these really contentious issues, trying to be being willing to compromise. Hopefully, that's not going to fuck us over in the long run. But
they do understand that if a slave runs away into the border right before they actually reach the border, he can be considered free.
Yes,
so
except that slave has a slave visa, and so that's not going to happen.
No,
but the slave visa has not been introduced yet.
Right.
Details that fine are going to keep us at this computer table for hours.
The problem is they're fucking devils. They need the fucking file line shit.
But
as things are currently defined, if she would certainly accept it being a matter of the visa being registered.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it's about whether if someone has the intent of traveling to Rovenal.
Yep.
That they can agree to keep their slave, basically.
Yep. Okay.
So,
it's our turn, I think.
This issue is not over by any means.
And shit need to be made.
Okay.
You've made those rolls there, but so as for, I'm willing to accept the need for visas, but I fear that they might be. It's not that I don't trust you not to capriciously deny them, but I fear the ability to cut off our access to these scholarly goods. Perhaps, in the case of visitors to collections, perhaps we could accept that pieces in private residences cannot be accessed without the consent of their owners, and perhaps the recommendation letter for House Throne must be accompanied with one from a major scholarly institution to guarantee access to a piece from a museum.
That's very reasonable.
We can't guarantee anything, but we will.
When I say museum, I mean one not owned by a private individual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, wait, no, she doesn't. She means, or let me read this carefully. You must also secure permission from property owners to view pieces in private residences. So if it's like a museum that's open to the public, they still want to have access to it with the letter from Thrune and the scholarly institution.
Right, yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have the visa process will be designed to only exclude those who we think would constitute a potential harm to Rovenal. It was not intended to deny scholars access, and even on a basic visa, they would have the rights of a citizen to view any museum that our own normal citizens would be able to do so. So they would be given that level of access. A student visa or other scholarly visa would allow them greater access, and they would have a letter from institutions would go a long way into securing them that visa. But we would have standards that must be met just to avoid our own citizens from being unable
harassed and molested.
No. all our own students from having those spots. We don't want to have 1,000 of your students taking all of our slots for the schools, for example.
I can accept limitations. I don't imagine... I can accept limitations like that. I don't expect you to accept every Chelish student we allow to apply. I simply hope you will apply them to the same standards. I'm sure that's acceptable enough.
Mm-hmm. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
As for... I would like to predefine the standards by which they can be rejected, even if they have the letters of recommendation. Just to ensure that such rejections are never done capriciously, even in the future.
That's understandable. One would be if there is... if there's no space for them available. That would be like if the museums are just overflowing at capacity, if the schools have a waiting list a mile long of our own citizens, we might limit the amount of number visas we would allow for that purpose.
It's sort of hard to imagine that happening, but that is acceptable.
Right. We are a developing nation. We have no idea what the future will hold. We want to keep our options open in that regard. But it will not be used maliciously. It's only as if we want to. We would, of course, welcome scholars of all regions, because that will ultimately enrich us all of us.
She'll agree that those notes do not grant immediate access, but instead, let's say within a year, so if someone else is doing something with it, they can continue to until they're done.
So you mean like
So Joe from Taldor is examining an artifact. Chad from Cheliax wants to. Chad from Cheliax has a letter from House Thrune and a letter from a recognized scholarly institution. And what that term is very precisely defined. In fact, there's a list of them. And a clause allowing for that list to be amended.
Good.
A clause allowing for things to be added to that list, specifically. Basically, the two of you, anytime the two of you can come together and agree to add something to it. Mm-hmm. Or perhaps perhaps below that there's something about a certain amount of research, a certain amount of students, a certain number of peer-reviewed papers cause one to count, even if it's not on the list.
I can,
If
something, a reasonable sense
of
who should count as an accredited university.
Right.
So, if Chad from Cheliax comes there, basically, they get the object when Joe from Taldor is done with it. Mm-hmm. And if Joe from Taldor wants it for 5 years, then Joe from Taldor has to let them borrow it for a little bit after a year.
That sounds fair.
I will say that they get put at the they get put at the next slot on the waiting list. They don't get immediately next dibs.
Well, but they can't just let Joe from Taldor have it for 5 years.
No, what I'm saying is if the artifact is if there's Joe, there's Cindy, there's Susan, there's Marie,
right?
And
they cut in line, is what you're saying.
They don't cut in line, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they will be put on the list certainly, but they will not get the cut in line behind the people who are currently on the list. But any hotly contested item, we will ensure that people are not allowed to hold it for an unreasonable amount. We will give access to all people who are interested in that item as best as.
I really don't mind them cutting in line, but okay.
So
she accepts that. She feels like an unreasonable amount of time is for anyone to insist on having it for more than a year.
That seems, if you don't crack it after a year, let someone else try.
Yeah.
And then whenever possible, where multiple people can study, such as if people are willing to go at night, then we would, we will facilitate those instances.
Yeah. So there's kind of two issues that got blended together here. So I'm going to list out both of them for the conclusions that have been come to. So, you agree not to discriminate against cellist students with regard to admission to the academy. You agree that with a letter from House Thrune and a scholarly institution, any publicly available item, i.e. one not housed in a private residence, may be examined unless someone else has dibs on it, in which case it may be guaranteed to be examined after other parties already waiting for it have had it for no more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With regards to the visas, Cheliax genuinely does not feel the need to regulate immigration from and travel from Rovenel that tightly. So they're not going to kind of bother with a system that complex for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They are willing to accept that their citizens, with reasonable predefined conditions, their citizens must apply for and accept a visa.
Visas. They should care about slave visas.
Yeah, visas can come into. I'm getting to that. Visas can come in, standard, student, scholar, and slave. Rovenal will recognize the enslavement of persons who enter with slave visas. Will return such a person to their master if they escape while in Rovenal under a slave visa. And will not prosecute slave owners for acting as they are allowed to act with their own property.
That last part I would take expected. She
expected that.
we would require you to treat them no violence towards your slaves while in Rovenal. That would be
public violence.
I would say while the conditions of a slave visa would give them protections while in Rovenal, one of which is if a slaver is to strike them maliciously or otherwise and handle them in a way that is unjust or by our laws, the slave visa would be broken and they'd be free to apply for amnesty.
The problem is
That's ridiculous.
That they're going to need to discipline their slaves somehow.
How could they That's ridiculous. They may as well be free for the time they're in Rovenal if they can't be punished for misbehavior.
Well, you
punish them after their return to Cheliax, then.
There are other ways to control slaves besides the whip. You can. It's up to you to. The slaves that are brought here must be well behaved or kept in control in other ways. That's simply how it must be.
Perhaps limitations on the severity of punishment would be acceptable. Let's say let's say they're not allowed to deal potentially lethal injury, that is, they can only deal non-lethal damage.
Mm-hmm.
And they cannot deal any damage at all in public.
Public, it's not really that much of a difference. I think non-lethal. What is everything?
Yeah, that works.
That seems reasonable. That's a reasonable concession.
Yeah. The T-Rex.
If they deal in, like our citizens are going to be like.
Yeah. The T-Rex thinks to press for thinks to restrict magical punishments. So, no damnation, no killing them, no raping them, because that's a major thing people just have slaves for. Um, and she agrees to both of those things.
Okay.
Keep it in your pants while you're fucking running through these little trains.
But also, I mean, you have to think, like, to the point of our citizens. Our citizens aren't, like, clean little, like, slavery wasn't an evil thing. I mean, they live in a society with slavery. Like, so it's a thing that happens. So it's not like they're completely against.
We're not thinking like this year. We're thinking like 20 years ahead, when the fucking children are not going to be exposed to slavery.
Okay.
I mean, the major thing there that actually kind of surprises me is that, as I understand the way the conditions are currently laid out, a student coming to the university can apply there, have his slave with him, and just have a slave for 4 years there, and then leave with the slave.
Yeah.
I mean, that sucks, but that's whatever.
It's a necessary evil, and otherwise, the trade would run to a halt, and other things would be too difficult. I think it's possible something we could have fought on. I don't know if it would have been worth it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is you could try for a time limit, but if that might not be worth it, you might decide.
I'm pretty sure it's even better without the time limit, because the fucking slaves are gonna live in a better condition here while being slaves.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and we can always throw a time limit on it later.
And also, one of the reasons to allow this is it will allow for slaves to come here, see what it's like here, learn about the whole we let slaves go free thing. They go back home, they tell other slaves about it, and that's how we get the cycle of slavery. Slaves.
And
also, Chile accident. Yeah, go ahead, Puppy. Sorry.
And also, no one has any delusions that none of the slaves are going to escape while under visas and be recognized anyway. Like, she's accounting for that in her mind.
Because basically all they have to do is throw away that piece of paper. Like, oh, I'm just a slave that escaped. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. She knows. She kind of doesn't mind.
Also, there's one big point here, is the Chileans who have slaves and come here will see how better it is without slaves and might just be converted, kind of.
That's what I just said.
That is going to happen only very occasionally.
Well, occasionally is all that matters.
The idea is you get a few whispers, and then that spreads through the whole country.
All right.
It's the whole Cold War tactics. It's where you're, what do you call it? I'm blanking.
Mutually assured destruction.
No, I'm thinking of the
what? You mean like sending
propaganda?
Yeah, propaganda.
The propaganda campaign.
Okay. So that issue is done. Then it's your guys' turn.
Okay, we got rid of one of ours as well.
I would like to press the issue of making it easier for the Order of the Torrent, establishing an outpost there, or like a headquarters there. If you guys don't have any other points that are...
there's a few points that are...
Yeah, there's still on my list. There's still 3 that you've not.
You guys want to do... military presence must be removed.
I think we can combine that and the last one just into one.
Yeah, I can see that.
So Chilean military presence must be removed from Ravenal, and also from any including Dietmar. During this time, Chileacs can request the transfer of any citizens they wish to have removed from Dietmar. After that point, Ravenal will control Dietmar in all respects, and all residents will be considered under our control.
Of an aliens.
All right. So she responds, I encourage you to think about whether or not it's really in your interest not to have Chelish military presence in your area. The great nation of Cheliacs, whose military is among the most powerful in the Yenisei region, seeks to aid your country, not control it. it would doubtless be to the benefit of your defense to have some of us around.
Your great empire was controlling our nation just like a few months ago, so...
But
Not the greatest...
our goals have changed.
In what way?
You're right, but our people won't see it that way. And so, for the time being, we at least need to make them feel better.
Checks.
I'm very sure they won't feel worse about a Chelish embassy than they will about casual public slave ownage in your country.
You're right, but freedom is more about the perception than the actual state of being. Seeing military around is not the perception we want to grant them.
If you are really, really sure... I mean, consider that we are incapable of moving troops en masse into your country without your permission. If you are really, really sure that you don't want any of our military around, should you be attacked?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is, in theory, the ones that are stationed here most likely live here anyways. So it's not like we don't have a standing military. It's just that the ones that don't live here need to go home.
If you are unwilling to accept Chelish military presence in your country, I suppose I can reluctantly agree to that. I really do think you're hurting your own interests by not letting us be ready to help defend you.
Can we make like a sense motive or something to see what...
Make a sense motive.
Okay. 36.
Okay.
What up, Dorset?
Oh, we have a Torsive?
Hi, guys.
He's fixing. Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
We're
Just
doing
to
the
catch you up,
negotiation.
I don't have internet, so yeah.
Oh god.
What the fuck? Dorset, stop. Please, you're hurting my ears with your robotic.
So I just dropped by to say hi and okay.
There you
I
go.
just
Okay.
wish you the
Okay,
best luck. And,
hi, bye. Thanks for the good luck.
yeah.
No, but seriously though,
Bye
glad
then.
you stopped by. We're doing pretty okay. And even though you're not here, your character is useful because it is bonking the bad guy on the head right now.
Cool.
Yeah, you're guarding a prisoner right now.
Yeah. Try to keep him alive. Yeah, okay.
Alright.
Bye, guys. Gotta go.
Okay.
Bye.
Yep. Have fun.
Oh, that was weird.
So,
So looking at the map... Oh, go with the sense motive first.
I mean, she's making the argument that you want Chelish military presence there. I mean, it's not just a matter of defending you, though she kind of does really care about that, and that's going to come up again in a minute, perhaps. But I mean, she's probably also is motivated by the fact that she would like to have troops in the area in case other things happen. But
besides the northern parts of Nadal, or northeast, and Cheliax, which is the main part of the border, are we bordering anything else besides the sea?
No, though there are things on the other side of the sea.
True.
Right. Well, I
If
mean,
threat- if
that
threat comes
doesn't
from the
mean
sea,
that they can't have a standing navy. And we should probably allow them port access to
Leon,
have
this will
access
come in
to
the
our
alliance.
services.
This will come in the alliance part of the negotiation.
They have sea access through the Hesperet Strait. So they should be able to get to there, but it'd be much more convenient for them to use ours probably.
Right, and if they use our port, they're spending their money here.
So that's something to consider. I would say trade, yes. Military, I'm not 100% sure we want to allow that.
I don't mind having the military in our ports, as they are navy. I mind having them inward toward land.
So what about the border between Nadal and us?
Nadal is an ally of Cheliax.
Well, the details of your relationship with Nidal are an issue to be settled between yourselves and Nidal.
Poppy, he's not asking her, he's asking you out of character.
Yeah, basically.
That is the answer. I mean,
is it reasonable for us to is it a worry, or is it like oh no, we're buds, it's Canada and the US, or is it, oh fuck, it's China and Russia?
That's what you're currently deciding.
Well, we've never talked about Nadal, so we don't know about how Nadal and us fit.
If you had to put it on the spectrum between US and Canada and China and Russia, where would you put that line?
You and Nadal?
Yeah, where are we us and Nadal in that spectrum?
So without question, Nidal hates you on just an ideological level. If you guys make yourselves allies of Cheliax, Nidal's leaders are pragmatic enough to be willing to be allied with you on a military and economic level. So that dislike of you is more an issue of their ideological purists than their actual leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, we do want to remove so the only question I would say is allowing some military presence on the North Plains, but what do you guys think?
Let's say the U.S. and Saudi Arabia is maybe a good analogy.
That's not great.
They hate each other, but they're allies.
Yeah, there's this secret hatred of each other, but in terms of their behavior, they act as though they're just political allies.
Yeah, that's pretty much fine then.
Okay, so probably not need to overly militarize that border anyway. So yeah, we'll remove all Cheliax military from our.
Excluding access to the ports of the Navy.
They can come through sea.
Sure, that's and trade obviously.
And about some if there was ever a threat through sea, we can probably intercept it before it even gets here, and so moving troops would not be an issue.
Right. Yeah, it's just having them be out in the waters is good, so we don't have to, basically.
Yeah. Okay, that's our answer to that.
She'll accept putting it in the thing that Chelish, basically that Chelish outposts on Ravenel's territory need official permission to exist.
Okay.
And shall have to basically immediately seek official permission or cease existing.
Mm-hmm.
And we will.
That's reasonable.
And we can offer temporary maybe during the transition, and then we'll figure that out.
Right. There's a total withdrawal time on that.
Yeah, it's not immediate. So I guess.
Yeah.
They should immediately seek to get their permission, but they don't need to immediately be gone.
Right.
The idea is for a peaceful and quiet transition, so that we aren't without leadership that is trained to handle such a place.
Perhaps beginning tomorrow, that permission will, due to your own interest, be easier to acquire. For now, though, that's a days of negotiation.
Okay, so we'll hit the Dietmar will be a separate thing.
She just concedes the point about Dietmar.
Okay, that's fine.
Dietmar is yours. We might We're happy to accept your offer of any of its residents, but I wouldn't hold your breath for such a letter. I don't imagine we want any of them badly enough.
Okay, so we maintain control of that, and we'll proceed thusly. Okay.
Okay.
Anything happened this night?
No.
Cool.
Anyone else have any things they want to add to the list since we're running out of things to talk about?
I wanna do the Hell Knight thingy.
Okay. Have you done extradition yet?
That was that's the last point.
Okay. Just checking.
So next point is expedition. The one after it is me.
Alright. So, the next day, the next day, you get together. Here's how she opens. Both of our nations have significant standing armies, ours especially so. It would be desirable for each of us to, let's say, each of us to agree to help one another in military matters. Cheliax requests the right to summon Rovinal's standing army to its own side in the event that we formally declare war against an enemy power. In exchange, Cheliax will come to the defense of Rovinal if war is declared against it.
Okay, is that all?
This is a very mutually beneficial agreement. Our army is much larger, and we have an entire plane of existence on our side. Our help renders the prospect of attacking Rovinal quite an undesirable one for any enemy power. Without it, we would be content to stand by as, for instance, Nidal invaded you.
That seems like a good point to go over.
Okay, let's huddle up and discuss this.
What seems reasonable to me? What is
No, not reasonable at all. They can just call on us if they declare war against somebody else.
Okay,
I think it's specifically in defense.
No,
right.
The way it outlined, if they declare war on someone, they can summon troops. They can basically insist on demand your help.
Okay,
you can only demand their help if you are attacked.
I misunderstood. Yep. Okay, so we would mutually only in defense. That's what we'll do. Our counter.
We can be allied in a war if it's beneficial to the both of us and the leaders agree.
We must come to the aid in cases of defense, and we can call for aid of the other if we were to declare war. But there's no
guarantee.
There's no guarantees.
Right, and reasonable amounts of each group standing military instead of all of them, so that nobody's fucked.
I'm glad I have a high bonus because I rolled under 5 for all of these rolls.
You rolled like an 18 and 19 a few times.
On the test one, I rolled well. I have not rolled. I rolled really low on at least half of these rolls. I rolled under 5. So, but that's still a 50. That's not bad.
So your counter proposal is that it mutually be only in defense. And that they can only demand so many troops.
I don't think that was a part of it, but
Leon mentioned that.
Like if it's a real threat where it's like world ending, of course we're going to commit as much as possible. But you can't demand all of our troops from your defense.
We will we will retain what was necessary for our own personal defense, but we will give whatever we are capable of.
So she'll accept that for in both directions, each nation may only demand 50% of the other's active troops.
That's really shitty for them, because 50% of them is like 200% of us.
They don't mind.
But
Okay, I don't think they can even fit.
It's on account of that they don't expect that to ever happen. They don't care about this limit so much as it's a concession to you, so that they can't suddenly demand your entire military and leave you defenseless. But she'll agree to a limit of 50% of active troops.
Can we make it 25%? Because I feel like 50% of our troops are not going to be enough to defend us.
No, they still want a reasonable amount, and so that's why it's 50%.
Okay, 50%. I can see it.
All right. So, and then the other thing was that it be mutually a matter of defense, is what you...
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that's going to be a hard sell to the Queen. How about this? Both of us may insist on having the other's assistance for a declared war. The other is only obligated to provide assistance after 3 months, and after a year, a conflict is considered to be prolonged and the other's troops may leave.
Our interests are not necessarily aligned as far as what you would want to attack for, so we would not want to dedicate any of our soldiers for a cause that they would be opposed to on a moral ground. So
yeah, you wouldn't want to have people abandoning the cause because they didn't believe in it. Now, would you? That would just be bad for morale overall.
I suppose I could accept some nations or purposes for which we could not summon your troops.
We would prefer you would not be able to. If you are engaging in war on your own volition, you can certainly request our support, and we will evaluate and send what we can, and if we choose to, but we will not agree to, by default, summoning any troops to the wars you declare.
In effect, it's your conquest, but it's our defense.
She agrees, and she agrees that you can refuse them troops if the war is unprovoked. So if they just declare war apropos of nothing on someone, then you don't have to do anything. But if it's in response to something reasonable, like say a known enemy of theirs amassing troops in an ominous fashion, then they want your help.
I can see those.
What qualifies as a known enemy as far as countries go?
Andorran, Taldor, probably several others around. Off the top, I could look at the lore book and get a list together.
So the almost good countries.
Andorran, yes. Taldor, Taldor is lawful neutral.
Yeah.
Do you press that issue?
I don't know about the alignment. War is war, to be honest. Like, the soldiers are going to be half evil, half good anyway.
But the point is if our troops like the other side, they're more willing to defect instead of actually help the conflict.
Has any fucking Rondelvillian ever fucking set foot outside of Rivendell?
Yes, loads.
I mean, probably. We're probably where most of the
in a medieval setting, a person wouldn't leave like 100 mile out of his vicinity.
Well, you're right.
They wouldn't like another empire.
I mean, there's large navies and
Kintargo-
fucking magic. So
Kintargo is an intellectual hub. People know about the rest of the world.
Even the cannon fodder fucking soldiers.
Yes.
yeah,
Do you like? What do you say to her to that?
Like I'm not gonna press the good alliance shit. I'm not good. It's about law.
it would just be a bad. I mean, as I've stated before, it would just be a bad idea to have troops on your side that don't believe in your
She'll
cause
agree.
or want to fight with the other team.
She'll agree to an exception for Andorran specifically.
That makes sense to most extents.
What we'll say is there'll be exceptions for any country that we have a separate neutral non-aggression pact with.
That's really well thought out, yeah.
That could easily be all of them.
Well, then choose your wars carefully.
We prefer to not engage in this such, but if there is a country that is a danger to everyone who is not willing to engage in peace, then we will want to fight alongside you just as much as you would to make sure that they do not engage in malicious wars across our great land.
Worldwide threats like that aren't what's at issue. You already made your diplomacy check.
Damn.
Worldwide threats...
You already succeeded at your diplomacy check, so don't say damn, okay?
Worldwide threats like that aren't what's at issue. Our concern is... what if Taldor or Andorran, though I've already offered an exception for them specifically, begins to gather troops, and our intelligence indicates they plan to attack us? We seek proper military support from you as our ally in exchange for the same.
We will
We will provide that support, but we can't guarantee that the soldiers themselves won't defect. So it's about you choosing your fucking wars carefully.
That's the business of your commanders and our commanders.
Okay.
In the end, we won't force a soldier to do something he doesn't believe he has to do.
But if we have non-aggression pacts or treaties with countries, you cannot force us to break those if they're not taking any action against us in particular. I can't imagine how many countries are even going to attack such a great land as Chiliax. It just seems like a silly thing to fight over.
I say we put it in like order. So like our alliance with Chiliax has to be top priority. So if something with a non-aggression with us attacks it, we should come to the aid of Chiliax anyway.
Yeah, well, that's part of a defensive pact.
I disagree with. Right, if they attack, then yes. But this is, and part of what we will agree to as a compromise is any country that is engaging in saber rattling that we have a non-aggression pact with, we will reach out to them and act as a emissary to see if we can quell these aggressions before they come to a solution.
So she's willing to revise what is considered a provocation. You are required to assist, non-aggression pact or no, if a country if it can be established as reasonably certain that another country has hostile intentions toward Cheliax.
Yeah.
Okay, we can build it into any of our non-aggression pacts.
Yes.
And the criteria for proving that's going to be meticulously difficult.
No, it's not.
So essentially, hostile actions towards Cheliax are considered a hostile act towards Rovinal.
Yeah,
in that regard.
And like I said, like that includes things like a small military strike, or Well, that's
that can be proven by that it happened by that faction, not them just staging one.
We will assign a neutral cleric to divine the intentions of their military.
A qualified cleric of Abadar.
I forgot we have magic here already.
yeah, and that certainly, she'd be willing to agree that a neutral judge would decide whether or not
who is under the effect of Zone of Truth.
Yeah, a neutral judge. Well, that's standard practice. All courtrooms have hallow spells over them that affect Zone of Truth. She would agree that in order for the requirement to be made, in order for either one to be required to assist the other, the country's hostile letition must be established before an impartial judge.
That seems fair.
We should establish like a hotline just in case it would be way too slow to do all of that.
Yeah. The procedure as defined, here's how she would define the procedure. So something happens that makes one country nervous. Another country is amassing troops, that's as an example. There could be several other things. That causes the country to want to declare war preemptively, sort of, when the other side clearly intends to. That once that state of affairs is established, both nations shall send a representative before an agreed upon neutral judge who will adjudicate whether or not this is the case. With teleportation magic, which should be available to both governments, this should never take more than a day or so.
Right. That's fine by me.
I guess this isn't really relevant, but I guess we should. Do we have a non-aggression pact basically with Cheliax at this point, or has that not been established?
Well,
if you have an alliance, you have a non-aggression pact.
That's actually next.
You can't have an alliance without a non-aggression pact.
The conditions of it haven't been formalized, though.
Right.
Can we take like a 5-minute break, if that is possible? I don't know.
It's almost 5. I don't know how long you guys want to go. So.
There's only one more issue, so I was going to go to finish the negotiations.
Okay, fine. Let's discuss the thing about damnations and shit, since it's now our turn for a point.
Okay.
So the automatic extradition of Rovenel citizens who would be subjected to damnation or torture.
Yeah.
I'll add in or religious persecution.
Your citizen. So she would agree.
Kevin.
God.
This way, if somebody comes in here and fucking starts massacring people and then says, "Oh, my religion told me so," we're just gonna give him off to fucking Cheliax.
This is a one-way clause. It's not a two-way clause.
Yeah.
And also, that's not religious persecution. That's not anything of the sort.
Right. That's a legal problem.
Religious persecution is like, you're worshiping Desna? I fucking hate Desna. I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to imprison you for worshiping Desna. That's what I'm talking about.
So she agrees that she'll agree that Rovenel citizens traveling to Cheliax may worship as they wish, but may not deliberately promote illegal behavior amongst Chelish citizens and slaves.
That seems totally fair.
That's lawful to me, so fair.
And she would actually ask for the reverse with regards to worship of Asmodeus. That
the same thing where they don't
illegal, yeah.
Right, they cannot harm or otherwise.
They can worship Asmodeus in their own homes or hotel rooms or whatever.
But no.
They can't evangelize.
Yeah, and they can't. Part of their worship can't be like slaughtering people or something.
Yeah, actions that would be otherwise illegal.
Yeah,
are not affected by this.
So next day.
Right, Humam asked for
Go
a
ahead.
break. I'll go ahead and declare a 10-minute break. Just
Yeah, right, that's
Okay,
reasonable.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm back.
Cool.
So I just saw on the news, a California judge has ruled that coffee shops need to have a sign that coffee causes cancer in California.
California's weird like that.
Yep.
They passed a law that says like anything that might cause cancer has to be labeled as such.
Yeah. Plastic. Yeah, California is ridiculously litigious in that way. And now we're waiting on Humam.
Well, we are. Leon, I'm going to point you to an well, your internet's down, so never mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's this object that's probably on Archives of Nethys that's really cool and would really suit The Young and the Lost in particular, but...
Well, PM it to me and I'll find it later.
I am back and very, very sorry for being late.
It's alright. It has actually been exactly 10 minutes, so you're fine.
Yay.
So I'm just going to reiterate the thing that I said earlier so Humam can hear it. So Humam, a judge in California has stated that they need to put a sign out front that coffee can cause cancer in every business that sells coffee.
Was there a fact supporting that coffee can cause cancer?
It's California. Everything in California can cause cancer, but only in California can it cause cancer.
Well, was the judge a woman?
I don't think that matters, and I don't know either way.
Most certainly does. How young was the judge?
Couldn't tell you.
I mean, she was probably not some fucking college student. Like, she's a judge. She's probably old. She is old enough to have gone to law school, been a lawyer for several years, and then be appointed or elected judge.
The problem is, like, at this point, you're just gonna put a sign in front of everything, about everything.
And red meat can cause cancer.
Yes, that is how California works.
When they just put a sign saying everything can cause cancer, instead of saying coffee or meat or something.
Now you got to be specific.
Well, then have the judge see what is there something that doesn't cause cancer, and have her put a sign that says these things don't cause cancer instead.
No, the lawsuit or like the case was specifically about having people aware of coffee causing cancer in coffee shops.
Like, I don't see how coffee can cause cancer. Like, I'm sure there is like a far away fucking cause for it, but
No, loads of random fucking chemicals cause cancer.
when
Yeah,
did coffee
I mean-
become loads of random fucking chemicals? It's
I
been
mean,
used
if
for
it
like
has, if it has a
It's a coffee shop, so
if it has something in it that causes genes to mutate, it can cause them to turn into cancer cells.
Mhm.
A lot of things can do that.
yeah.
Basically,
cinnamon
everything
fucking
has the
does that.
potential to
Cinnamon's
do that.
Crazy for that.
Yeah, but no, not everything does, and many things can do that relatively easily compared to other things.
Well, where does a substance that can cause mutations easily can be found in coffee?
I don't know personally, but it wouldn't be. It's not. It's hardly out of
Probably
the.
the caffeine.
It's hardly out of the question that
Yeah.
that's the case.
So it's a
Caffeine is so big it wouldn't even fit between the fucking DNA molecules. It couldn't cause the fucking.
73 to 74. His actual birthday isn't listed. White male, in case you're curious.
What?
Humam,
The judge.
Humam thinks that the gender of the judge is relevant. So
Of course, it is relevant. Okay.
why is it relevant?
Because some people of of a certain gender might be more aligned to a certain type of thinking.
I mean,
So
in general, that's not the case.
How
In general, that is the case.
is that? I mean,
it is true. I mean, women are more liberal than men, so there is a reasoning behind that. But it doesn't mean that you should dismiss what a judge says.
I'm not dismissing it. Like, I'm not saying this judge sucks ass and it shouldn't be a judge.
But I mean, there's lots of things that can have unintended consequences. It should just, but from the brief research I said, it does not look like there's a consensus on this issue. But it meets the standards, I think, for the law, which is like if it might cause cancer, then you have to put the warning in.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
In general, it's not. And it's hard to prove a causal relationship between these things. a lot of these.
Then you're gonna be bombarded by like 100 cases of people saying this might cause cancer. Have another sign added.
Basically,
Yes, literally everything has a sign that says in California, in the state of California, this is known to cause cancer.
Then don't live in California.
Pretty much.
there are a bunch of other reasons to live in California.
Such as, oh, of course, beach bodies.
universal basic income, bitches.
Does California actually have that?
There's a pilot program.
I actually do respect California a bit because they did make a nice little plasmid that we use these days in genetic engineering, DNA recombination in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, they're also just sort of like objectively the most progressive state, which so they
Aren't they a sanctuary state as a whole, though?
more or less.
Like if they were the economy to be like the 5th biggest economy in the world, something like that.
Right. They're the state that decided that gun control laws needed to be a thing because they're racist.
Don't bite, puppy. Puppy, don't bite.
No, I'm genuinely confused.
The original reason for gun control laws came out in California because they were worried about the Black Panthers concealed carrying.
I mean, that's a genetic fallacy?
I'm just saying that the origin of gun control was that.
I mean,
And I'm
Number
saying
one-
that that's a genetic fallacy.
I don't know how that's the case, but okay.
If you're insinuating gun control laws are bad because of that.
No, I'm just saying that's the origin of that specific group's gun control laws.
And it's not necessarily racist. I mean, if there's a violent group, then you're like, oh, we want to limit how this group acts. That's not
The Black Panthers were never violent enough to warrant
Right.
Them in particular being a reason for concern.
Were you there?
No,
but I mean, I know it.
historically they were like neighborhood watch groups, and then they did good shit for the community. I mean, yeah, they beat up a bunch of white people, but they still were overall decent.
That's a statement
their
for
founder-
humanity.
Their founder was accused of murder, so that's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were sort of the archaic equivalent. They were sort of that time's equivalent to Black Lives Matter, I would say.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Sounds about right. In any event,
But we should move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have Human's point and your last point.
So, she says, we spoke yesterday of non-aggression agreements. Neighbors should be able to trust each other, and the less we have to worry about our border, the more we can focus on external threats. We ask that Ravenel agree not to assist in any war action against Cheliax carried out by other entities. This includes supplying weapons or provisions, providing soldiers, and allowing passage of such soldiers through Ravenel.
Is that all?
Yes, so you cannot so this is pretty broad what she's proposing.
Yeah, I would say that's just a deal.
Wait, wait. I have a question. Did she saying that we can't do this to known enemies, or just to anybody?
If someone is let me see exactly.
If they are in the state of
Mom, shut
war
up.
with them, that's what I'm asking.
Agree. So, if a nation is at war with Cheliax, you basically cannot provide them anything that could conceivably aid them in the war effort. This includes you cannot sell them magic items.
That's reasonable.
That seems fair.
Okay? And note that as currently written, this clause does not reciprocate.
Okay, well, it should.
Yeah. Not that we're gonna do... Well, we could be in war with some country. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we would want to reciprocate that likewise. We would have an exception for long-term conflicts. We'd want to be able to at least do our basic trade goods of our fish and other just general trade, but not above and beyond what we normally with those countries.
Okay.
Damn, I suck.
Hey, you beat me.
All right. She accepts items not really... She accepts items not pertaining to the war effort. So basically, she accepts like basic trade goods could still be exchanged, but only at rates similar to how they were before.
Correct. That makes sense.
and she agrees to reciprocate the agreement. So Cheliax will never supply soldiers or give resources to entities trying to attack Rovenal, and they will never admit enemy soldiers of Rovenal through their territory.
That is very good. Another clause I'd like to add in would be if, for some reason, Cheliax were to invade Rovenal, they would lose the beneficial trade agreement we had outlined the first day.
That can't happen because of the Cantargo contract.
Yeah.
I'm just...
I mean, she'll add that. She won't resist adding that in.
Basically...
That's like a given, kind of.
No, but if Cheliax were to do anything that would not just... or to aid an enemy of ours, or to somehow, in some way, try to screw us over in a military fashion, that clause would be null.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So basically,
She accepts that without resistance.
If there is a loophole, this is a loophole buster kind of thing.
Right, she accepts that without resistance.
We should use that term more often, a loophole buster.
So yeah, that's I guess I'm not sure, it's probably not a thing, but just something I thought of. Something to consider for all of our non-aggression packs.
Yep.
Oh, hold on. Is that it for this round? Or this?
That's all of
No,
her. It's your turn. Other than that, that's all of her points.
Yep.
Yep. And we have our last point, which is to make it easier to, first of all, establish like a small headquarters for the Order of the Torrent in Cheliax, in one of the cities or a few of the cities, and make it just more easier for the Order of the Torrent to, like, operate in Cheliax.
Is that the Hell Knight thing?
Yeah, my Hell Knight order.
She agrees that the Chelish government will not restrict the Order of the Torrent's ability to operate in Cheliax any more than it does other Hell Knight orders.
Okay. And make it easier for a headquarters to be established.
So
like I want the government to like see the Order of the Torrent as like a cool thing, just like how Cantargo sees the Order of the Torrent as like, yeah, this is a part of our community.
The Chelish government will officially recognize the Order of the Torrent as a Hell Knight order.
Okay, thank you very much. That is all. Let's stop fucking funny!
Just the way that went was interesting to me.
Yeah. You mean how I was being fucking dismissed like a little piece of fucking shit kid? Yeah, I saw that. That was fucking funny.
That's just a matter of accuracy.
Moving on.
Anyone else have anything else they want to discuss, Leon?
No, I think we got everything covered.
This is the T-Rex. We didn't ask him if he had
Actually,
anything.
that's a good point. See if he has any thing to add.
Not really.
Do you want official recognition as T-Rexes are people too?
Recognize sentient animals as regular slaves in regards to the trades and previously mentioned packs.
Yeah, that's fair. He would push for... Yeah, he would request that for the purposes of who is recognized as a slave, that basically that the who is a slave for that purpose is decided by Rovenal, not by Cheliax. She would agree to a definition that includes any creature with an intelligence score of 3 or higher.
That seems fair.
Aren't 12s have 5?
They have 2.
No animal has above a 2.
Yeah, no animal has above a 2. 3
even
is...
even like a Even a monkey?
Monkeys have 2.
It's a mechanical thing. I don't know why, but there's a reason for it.
3, because 3 is what's necessary for you to get your first language.
Oh, really?
That makes sense, yeah.
3 is the point where you become a sentient creature, where you can speak, you can, and that standard, that intelligence score of 3 or higher equals sentience, is very well established in the material.
Basically, it's like you need something magical or supernatural or something to push you over that boundary.
Yeah,
I
animals,
that.
ordinary,
That's really awesome.
Ordinary animals never have an intelligence score higher than 2.
That's weird and awesome at the same time.
Yeah. So she would agree to that.
Wait. What happens if you like make an animal chug an intelligence potion?
It briefly gains
Sentiency.
That would be temporary.
Holy shit!
So she would define it in such a way that it had to be permanent. So
Yes.
it would include headbands, which I just realized I need to do with Marshmallow.
Oh, you're kidding? Oh my god, that's gonna be so awesome.
Marshmallow needs to get a headband of intelligence.
Best intelligence.
Yeah, headband of vast intelligence for Marshmallow. But yeah, so it would include headbands, it would not include potions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, an animal companion is, like, the difference between that and a slave is, I'm not sure.
It's the intelligence score.
Willingness to assist.
Yeah.
Yeah, or familiar for that matter, who has intelligence scores.
The familiar is a little bit more questionable, but familiars are generally loyal, so...
And soulbound, kinda.
Yeah, it's almost like, but you choose to do this.
Familiars. I guess here's how I would put it. I'm pretty sure that if you drift away from if you have improved familiar, and so you have an outsider with a certain alignment as your familiar, and then you drift away from that alignment, I'm pretty sure they can leave you.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for Eidolons. So like if you have a familiar or Eidolon who's a psychopomp, and you create an undead, which they, being servants of Pharasma, don't like, they will leave you. They will not continue to associate with you.
That makes sense, yeah.
So they are there willingly, because they can leave if you violate their alignments.
Cool.
Makes sense. So I think I love you.
One other random consideration for the T-Rex: applying for a slave visa in Rovenal requires them to have been a slave in Cheliax. You can't bring non-slaves over with slave visas. In other words, you can't enslave someone at the border in order to bring them in and have them be your property in Rovenal if they weren't before.
Okay, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you were about to talk about something, Kevin?
It wasn't important. I blanked again.
I think he was just gonna wrap up.
Yeah,
Say
probably.
we finish all of it. Is there anything else we need to do?
Yeah.
Ermelind gets out 2 large scrolls, and over the course of an hour, while the rest of you converse in the lounge, he writes down everything that was agreed upon over the last several days and congeals it into a single treaty.
I doubt it's gonna make any difference, but I'm gonna make a linguistic check just to make sure there's no hidden lines.
Yeah,
I only have a +3.
I expect that.
We'll detect magic and otherwise.
You do not detect magic.
Oh, we can do sense motive at the same instead of linguistics, right?
The information
I'm
it would
not
give
sure.
you would not necessarily be the same.
Kevin, could you do a linguistic? Could you do a sense motive? I'm sorry, I only have 1 point in linguistics. I wanted infernal.
44 sense motive.
It seems to be a faithful recreation of what you agreed to.
Awesome.
Mostly using the exact language that you agreed to.
Mm-hmm. Anything in particular stand out as being objectionable?
No.
Okay.
So he produces 2 copies of the treaty, one for each of you, and wants Nereza signs it. Signs both copies, and she wants everyone present, including the T-Rex, to sign both copies. The T-Rex uses Mage Hand to do so.
Sure.
Okay, so
That's gotta be tricky.
this is just my paranoia speaking. But should we go to the hell plane thingy and ask that devil to take a look at the contract?
No, that would be bringing in a third party, and that's generally not a good thing.
Well, we were just gonna hire him for his barista skills. Like, he's gonna take a look at it, no hidden lines, no loopholes. Just my paranoia speaking. If you guys think we don't need to.
So I would take I'll take a minute and cast Augury on the contract before we sign it.
Augury only tells you about the consequences for the next 30 minutes.
Okay, then I'll do an automatic writing. I'll take 10 minutes. Basically, is this a good idea to sign this contract? Go with that. Will this contract be beneficial to us or not?
Well, we've got everything we
Will this
wanted.
contract be net beneficial to us?
Yeah, not beneficial to us.
It's fine, chill out. Yeah, says the GM who has a fucking trap in each corner.
I wasn't that freaked out until she said, I want each of you to sign it. And I was like, oh, is this some infernal contract we're all going to be damned to?
No, we're all the representatives, so all the representatives should sign.
Yeah.
It's just the way it was phrased. It just sounded kind of like, wait a minute, they're going to try to pull one over on us.
Hold up. Okay, yeah, I sign.
It's like the Santa Claus with like, over on the edge, there's this fine print that, you don't know about.
All right. So, does anyone not sign?
Does Volare get to sign?
Of courcourse. He's gonna leave like a footmark.
Yeah, the bird dips his foot in the ink and leaves a little mark.
A cute little fucking four. So cute.
At some point, by the way, something that I forgot about, at some point during the previous few days, Cybele, her assistant, would have tried to catch you alone, and admitted that, listen, don't
She
tell...
has a crush on Kevin.
Two people talked at once, I don't know what
Listen, don't tell Nazira that I said this, but, I sort of admire the work of the singer, Marco Vashner still. I know he's a friend of yours. Do you think you could get me his autograph?
Definitely.
Anything's possible. Do you have a location where we would send it to you?
She nods. She gives you, she says that the post office in Igorian would work.
Okay. We'll
so I want
information.
to say one thing. I was barely off the mark. She has a crush on Marco, not on Kevin.
So yeah, I would. I will pass it along. He's not as active as he once was in our organization, but we can certainly.
He's dealing right now. He's dealing right now with House Vashner Still's place in the New Republic. That's very demanding.
Mm-hmm. Well, he can take time for an autograph for a fan, I'm sure.
All right. So, that all out of the way, you part on cordial terms. Kevin, as you leave, Nereza offers you a gift. Please, as a
Parting gift.
yeah, as a parting gift. Let me see. Let me get the description of it. Accept this, and she takes off her ruby and mithril bracelet and gives it to you.
Fucking hand-me-downs. What the fuck?
That's interesting.
Thank you very much. I take it graciously. And then
Detect magic on it?
It does not detect as magical.
Okay. I'll sense motive her though.
Go on.
That could be used as a focus for like divination and.
Oh, hey, you know what? It's too late to do it now, but can we have preemptive made a third copy?
You can make additional copies.
Yeah, but an official third copy is so much better.
Sure, she'll make 2 copies for both people.
Okay.
And one goes in the museum.
Hell yeah.
So 44 sense motive.
I mean, from a magical standpoint, that's possible. There's possible things, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. But no, she just likes you.
Okay.
Not like that.
I'm so amped up for this like intrigue shit, and it's just like, oh, this is pretty calm, pretty chill. And so it's like, oh, someone's trying to get me. Like, no, there's just a little gift. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Bro.
Yeah.
Could we do a perception to see if there's any like hidden compartments in that?
Sure.
Kevin,
Sure.
you're holding it, so I.
Do this.
She secretly passed us a message that she's a prisoner to the house rule. Oh my god, we have to rescue her. Let's go.
47 to examine it closely and see if there's anything unusual or.
It is what it appears to be.
How much is it worth about?
Don't sell the gift.
Put it in the museum, damn it.
I'm just curious. Like, just so I know how to react.
Oh, well, I mean, it's ruby and mithril, so maybe several thousand.
Oh shit.
Right, several thousand in the sell price.
It was a bracelet?
Yeah.
Bracelet. Okay. Okay,
Let me see if actually in her stat block it specifies.
I'm putting it on the sheet just because it's not personal.
I would hope it does.
3,500.
3,500. Not bad.
Close off the mark. Good job, whoever estimated it.
So, what's my sense of her as like a person? Of like, what does she seem like to me? Like, do I know anything about her in our conversations?
So, she's very, she's very polite. She's a very skilled negotiator. She's sort of an inherently, she's an inherently, oh, what's the word? There's a word, I'm not getting it. She's a people person.
Mm-hmm.
She is lawful evil. Like, she's not a good person. She is, she works for.
She would eat a baby if she could.
I don't think so.
She wouldn't eat a baby. She would flay a slave. Not herself. She wouldn't want to. That'd be gross, and she'd get all covered in the blood. But she doesn't have like moral scruples and stuff. As much as she has a sense of what's polite and what's proper that she cares about. And yeah, she's just a very gregarious person, is what I was going for.
Stop using words I don't understand.
Okay.
It's your fault you didn't have a school with a good vocabulary.
My school had no vocabulary. Oh my god. That's a racist.
So, in my imagination...
America has shitty schools too, I promise.
Yeah, I know.
Would giving her a circle conversation be like a bad thing since she's an evil person?
Yes.
Yeah. That seems what I was thinking. And giving her the only other thing I can have is on that scope is my holy symbol of Desna, which I wouldn't mind giving up because I have others, but that seems kind of a dick move.
She would refuse it.
Yeah,
she has a bejeweled unholy symbol of Asmodeus worth 500 GP in her gear. Yeah. So she's a loyal worshipper of Asmodeus.
As we were exiting the tavern, I drop a bag with 500 GP on the counter.
Oh, I know what.
Keep moving.
Zenrai and I will graciously accept her gift, and Zenrai will take her bejeweled necklace, we'll say, that is of not nearly as much, but of some worth in the 500 to 1,000 piece range, and offer that as a gift.
She graciously accepts it. Thank you very much, she says. I hope this isn't the last time I encounter you.
Well, this has been very enlightening, and it's always great to experience other cultures and come to an understanding where everyone can benefit.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. And with that, they leave. They shadow walk away.
Race goes into portable hole.
Okay.
In case there's some other fuckery we're not aware of.
Yeah. It didn't detect as magical at all.
Just in case there's some weird thing with that, I'm not being...
Yeah. You could have that magic aura spell.
Kevin senses my game coming up, in which I do that all the time.
Right, there is a thing where you... Oh, is it... Does greater detect...
Yeah, it's called magic aura, the spell.
Does greater detect magic go through it?
I think it does.
Probably, yeah. I'd look it up if I could.
You alter an item's aura so that it registers to detect spells and spells with similar capability as though it was non-magical. Whatever. I suck. I need to kill myself.
So, there was one other thing we needed to do. What was it?
There wasn't, really?
There was nothing at all?
I thought there was. I thought we had to,
we could have killed the friends in the bracelets.
Let's open next session with that if we're gonna do it. Because we've done a lot today.
Definitely. Yeah. Greater detect magic on that will get through magic order, or I think even
the thing that goes through it is identify.
That's the lesser one. So
it does not detect as magical.
Okay. So
yeah, the only possible benefit they have to giving it to you is like scrying or something.
Right, but I figure it's in the portable hole. It's not going to really give them anything, right?
Yeah.
No, it's even
I
then.
thought we had to justify that we weren't that we were actually our own country or something.
That's what you did by winning what concessions you got.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you want to tell us in a metagaming kind of way, but did we do good or okay?
You got a perfect scorecard. at least pretty close. You blew every DC out of the water, so it was just a matter of whether or not you pressed for things.
Right.
The only thing that you didn't win was you accepted you were pretty and you were pretty concessionatory with the non-aggression pact. You could have removed the condition preventing the sale of powerful magic items.
Well, that's just...
Yeah, but we put it on both sides, so then that's probably a good thing.
And you could have won back the right to allow enemy troops to move through your area.
No self-respecting person would do that.
That just causes conflict.
Yeah, with your checks, you totally could have done those things. But other than that,
I would say that's not perfect squash.
Yeah, other than that, you got every concession. You got. I think the only other thing, there might have been one other thing where you didn't ask for the concession and so didn't wind up getting it. Let me double check if it was No, that you got that one. But yeah, the way it's set up, you actually could have very easily gotten to Cheliax to pay completely for the repairs of the Minotaur Gap. You just didn't think to ask for that.
I wouldn't want to do that, because then they would build it and might have like secret stuff in it.
Right. We can have our own side and our own troops on that too. So
it seemed a reasonable.
It was worth it to pay for it.
A reasonable concession. I don't think that like it's almost a short-term concessions like that are much better than long-term concessions. That's why it's good to give a little on those little things like that.
Yeah. I was in like IRL. I'm kind of surprised you went for the slavery thing the way you did. I'm a little surprised because I'm imagining like some of those college students who come over are going to bring their halflings with them, and that's just going to be a thing.
Well, yeah, like I said, maybe
if it is, then around. You know.
Yeah, I get the logic behind it.
But you missed the classic point that I included in there that allows for this. The visas. We can not allow visas on slaves if we choose to. Hello?
He makes a good point.
So everyone was silent for a second. That's why I included it in the way I did, is if we make the decision that we no longer allow slaves, we just don't allow those visas, and there's nothing stopping us from that also.
Huh. I didn't catch that, actually. So, yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't always want to deny all slave visas, but...
That was a pretty good loophole, I gotta say.
Holy shit, we loopholed the loopholers.
So, that was... It's an exploit that you can... So, basically, I give us complete control over who comes into our country. Legally.
Damn, son.
And so, obviously, illegally, you can't do nothing about that anyway. But as much as we can, we control that flow. And if someone does not enter in through with that visa, then that slave can defect. And that's the...
All right. Well, on that note, it's almost 5 o'clock, so...
Yeah, and I did this all on battery.
That's a good phone.
I'm gonna stop the stream and take